FBG Duck's mom has reacted after new footage showed Trap Lil Ross with a King Vaughn tattoo that many fans believe references people Vaughn killed. Her response quickly got people talking, but the reason this tattoo has caused such outrage goes much deeper. Let's break it down. On a Tuesday afternoon in August 2020, 26-year-old Carlton Dequan Weekly, known to the world as FBG Duck, was murdered on the Gold Coast of Chicago, shot by 4 gunmen in a targeted attack while he was out shopping with his girlfriend. It was broad daylight, one of Chicago's most upscale shopping strips, the kind of block where you'd expect the worst thing to happen to be a parking ticket. And there it was, all of it, caught on camera. Surveillance footage shows 4 men sprinting down the steps of a building at Parkway Gardens Apartments and getting into 2 waiting cars. Police pod cameras and license plate readers tracked those cars as they sped straight toward the Gold Coast. They weren't lost. They weren't wandering. They knew exactly where they were going, and they drove there at speed with guns already in hand. Videos show the Ford and the Chrysler pulling up outside the Dolce & Gabbana store at 68E Oak Street, and 4 gunmen, later identified as Marcus Muwap Smart, Ezel Zelmuna Rawls, Charles C. Murda Liggins, and Christopher C. Thang Thomas, got out of the cars and opened fire on Duck and his 2 companions. It's the kind of thing that once you see it, you can't unsee. It's that clean, that coordinated, that cold. Duck was struck 16 times and collapsed at the scene. Emergency services rushed him to a nearby hospital, where he was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. His girlfriend and the other man with him survived, but Duck didn't make it, and the whole thing, start to finish, was on tape. The lawsuit would later note that Chicago police failed to promptly respond to the scene, leaving Duck bleeding for 17 minutes before paramedics arrived. 17 minutes on the ground, on one of the most surveilled high-traffic streets in the city. The cameras caught it all: the approach, the attack, the chaos, the getaway. And for years, that footage sat inside courtrooms while his family sat in the gallery. The rapper's mother said he was shopping for a birthday present for his son when he was killed. That detail never left the people who heard it. He wasn't making a move. He wasn't in a trap house. He was buying a birthday gift. And 4 men drove across town to end his life. During a no-jumper interview, FBG Duck's mother opened up about her son's final moments. The rapper's life came to a tragic end when he was shot at least 16 times outside of a Dolce & Gabbana store in Chicago. But it wasn't just the attack that she described in that sit-down. It was the day before, the last time she saw him. The conversation they had that she had no idea would be the last one. She reflected on the last day she spent with her late son, revealing that the last thing he told her was that he was heading back home to the city's east side. She recalled getting into a petty argument with him before he left, cooking dinner for him and his children, and asking if he was leaving. "Yeah, Ma, I'm finna go home," were his last words to her. That's how it ended for her. Not with some dramatic goodbye, just a regular back and forth between a mother and her son on a normal night. She explained that the next day, when he was murdered, she had been with Duck's younger sister. His mother says that was the day she learned her daughter was pregnant, and the performer had gotten the chance to find out before he died. So in the middle of one of the worst days of her life, the day she found out her son was gone, there was also the news of a new life coming into the world. That's the kind of thing that stays with you. She recalled seeing a blogger unveil the paperwork documenting police body cam footage, which revealed her son's final words. His mom says that after police asked Duck where he'd been shot, he told them everywhere. That one word, everywhere, covered in the context of 16 gunshot wounds, said by a dying man to a police officer. That word tells you everything about what those 4 men did to Carlton Weekly that afternoon. The shooters bragged about the murder in live stream videos and music videos for a year. A whole year of taunting. A whole year of that footage being out there, being remixed, being referenced in songs and on social media, while his mother was still burying him. That's what made this particular case so electric with rage. It wasn't just that her son was killed. It was how openly, how publicly, how commercially the people responsible celebrated it afterward. Prosecutors said drill rapper King Vaughn, an O-Block affiliated gang member, put a $100,000 bounty on Weekly's head after the release of the diss track called Dead Bitches. And that's where the story shifts from being just about a murder and becomes something much bigger. Because King Vaughn, the man prosecutors say put that price on Duck's head, had already put his intentions on record, not just in texts, not just in conversations. He put them in a music video that went on to collect hundreds of millions of views. Vaughn had previously included a scene of himself killing a man named Duck in the video for his track, Took Her to the O, released about 6 months before his rival was murdered. The video has since amassed 288 million views on YouTube. 288 million. That's not underground. That's not a niche corner of the internet. That's one of the most watched videos in the history of Chicago rap, and it depicts, in dramatic detail, the death of a man named Duck. In the video, a man picks up a brick and throws it through Vaughn's car window. So Vaughn gets out of his car and shoots the man. Vaughn and the woman then drive off. It is heavily implied that the man Vaughn shoots is FBG Duck, another rapper and a member of a rival neighborhood. This isn't a metaphor tucked deep inside a verse. It's a visual scene. A dramatized execution of a character with the same name as his real-life rival, and it played to hundreds of millions of people. The song was released months before Duck was killed and allegedly served as a foreshadowing of his violent death. FBI agent Dominique Dixon said the song includes references to both Duck and his late brother, FBG Brick, and the video shows Vaughn fatally shooting a man who shares the same features as Duck. Now that footage, that music video, that surveillance footage of the actual shooting, that's all sitting in front of Mama Duck, and she's watched every frame of it. Lashina Weekly is an American anti-gun violence activist from Chicago. She became a public figure and advocate following the separate shooting deaths of her two sons, rappers Jermaine FBG Brick Robinson and Carlton FBG Duck Weekly. Two sons killed in Chicago's street violence. And before all of that, before she became the woman standing at press conferences, holding up pictures of her children, she was just a mother in a city that eats its young. In the wake of their killings, Weekly became a prominent voice for peace in Chicago and has organized community initiatives. She didn't disappear. She didn't go quiet. She went loud in the direction of change. She organized events, spoke publicly, and refused to let either of her sons just become a statistic. That resilience is what makes her response to the footage so significant. Because when Mama Duck speaks, it's not impulsive, it's calculated. It's the kind of response that comes from someone who has been sitting with grief long enough to know exactly what she wants to do with it. She went on to describe how the deaths of both her son and King Vaughn did nothing but hurt their families. She said she feels betrayed by the person who allegedly shared his location, as people losing their lives over a song is unnecessary. That line, over a song, is doing a lot of work, because what she's really saying is somewhere between the lyrics and the streets, the line between performance and reality dissolved completely, and her son paid for it with his life. In January 2023, after Bennett's death, the FBI declassified a number of documents, showing that a confidential informant alleged that Bennett initially placed a $50,000 hit on Carlton FBG Duck Weekly, before raising the price to $100,000. So it wasn't a single decision. It reportedly escalated, started at $50,000, doubled. Whatever Duck did, whatever song he dropped, whatever line he crossed in Vaughn's world, the price on his head climbed. And that price, according to prosecutors, is what brought 4 men across the city to end his life. A government witness, cooperating in exchange for a reduced sentence in a gun case, testified that one of the defendants, Kenneth Kenny Mac Roberson, told him he took part in the brazen shooting because Vaughn had placed a hit on Duck. But Roberson, who prosecutors say is a member of another gang faction, wouldn't take an old blockchain in exchange for his role in the killing. He turned down the chain, he took the money and did the job, but he wouldn't wear the trophy. That detail alone tells you something about the internal dynamics of what went down. The transaction, the hierarchy, the cold machinery of it. Prosecutors say that Vaughn paid $128,000 to buy diamond-encrusted O-block pendants from an Atlanta jewelry store. Some of them purchased after Duck's killing. Smart was pictured with Vaughn at the jewelry store and alluded to the pendants as trophies on social media, according to evidence presented in the case. Trophy pendants bought after the murder, posted on social media. This is what Mama Duck had to watch the people responsible for her son's death do in the aftermath. This is the world she was living in while she was still grieving. Prosecutors said members and associates of the O-Block faction of the Black Disciples targeted Duck after he released a scathing song called Dead Bitches, which was played in open court. That song, Duck's Diss, became Exhibit A for the prosecution's theory of the case, that a rap beef stoked by real diss tracks between real gang factions ended in a real murder, and that everyone who profited from that beef, the labels, the distributors, the streaming platforms, had some share of the blame. Members and associates of the O-Block faction of the Black Disciples targeted Duck after he released that track. Duck himself was a member of the rival Tucaville faction of the Gangster Disciples, and that song is just one of the tracks the government seized on to make its case that O Block is a criminal enterprise. Two factions of two rival gangs, O Block and Tucaville, and the line that separated street violence from musical expression had worn down to almost nothing. The diss tracks weren't just fuel. According to the government, they were planning documents. This lawsuit followed a January 2024 federal conviction of 6 gang members and associates tied to FBG Duck's murder. Federal prosecutors linked the shooting to a year-long gang war fueled by social media and diss tracks. A year-long gang war, documented in music, documented on social media, and finally documented in a courtroom, where all of it, the songs, the videos, the posts, the pendants, was laid out before a jury that ultimately convicted every single defendant. FBG Duck's mom, Lashina Weekly, celebrates the guilty verdicts, saying, "We poppin' bottles." That's not a woman who fell apart. That's a woman who fought through the legal system with her grief strapped to her chest like armor, and she came out the other side holding something that at least resembled justice. But she wasn't done. Not even close. Because the men who pulled the triggers were in prison, but the man she says gave the order, his estate was still collecting royalties. She discussed rumors that King Vaughn was behind the late rapper's murder, putting $100,000 on his head. According to her, they proved it. She wasn't speculating. She wasn't operating off gossip. In her mind and in the prosecutions, the evidence had already been presented, and the verdict had already been rendered on that question. The bounty was real, the order was real, and Vaughn's fingerprints, financial, musical, and otherwise, were all over what happened on Oak Street. FBG Duck's mom claims that the people allegedly behind his shooting had been telling on themselves for some time. That's the thing about the way this particular murder unfolded in public. The evidence didn't come from some secret wire or a buried informant alone. It came from Instagram, it came from music videos, it came from live streams and social media posts, where the defendants and their associates apparently couldn't stop talking about what they'd done. The arrests were supported by evidence, including surveillance footage from the crime scene, witness testimonies, and incriminating social media posts linking the suspects to the attack. The social media posts weren't peripheral, they were central. They placed people at locations. They connected people to money. They showed faces next to diamond pendants bought with cash that prosecutors tied directly to the murder. Now the footage that surfaced, the surveillance clips, the music video, all of it playing alongside the trial evidence, was in front of Mama Duck in a whole new way. Not filtered through a lawyer's presentation, not framed by a prosecutor's opening statement, just raw. And her response to it is what started pulling on every thread that was still loose in this story. Mama Duck talked about the lead-up and repercussions of his passing and the music that lives on. That's a complicated thing to sit with, the music that lives on. Because King Vaughn's music didn't die when Vaughn died. It kept growing. The streams kept climbing. The views kept accumulating. Took her to the O hit 288 million views. It went triple platinum. And somewhere inside those numbers is the soundtrack to her son's murder, being played on repeat around the world. She talked about the lead up and repercussions of his passing and the music that lives on. What she means when she says that is something deeper than just grief about streams. She means that the industry kept profiting. The label kept collecting. The executives kept cashing checks, and none of it stopped when Duck stopped breathing. The machine didn't pause for a single second. Weekly has frequently used social media and interviews to speak about her grief, criticize the glorification of violence in drill music, and respond to other artists, including Lil Durk, who have referenced her son's death in their music. She's not a passive observer. She's in the conversation. And the more footage that surfaced, whether from the trial, from the police, or from the music video itself, the more she had to say about it. Mama Duck says at the end of the day, losing them only hurts their close families. Says she feels lost and consumed with all of this. Lost and consumed. Those words hit different when you understand the full scope of what she's been carrying. Not just the loss of Duck, not just the loss of FBG Brick before him, but also the constant re-exposure, the footage, the trials, the social media, the songs, the pendants, the bragging that's been forced into her life every time this story resurfaces. And it resurfaces constantly, because this isn't a story the internet has let die. Every time a new clip drops, every time a new piece of evidence becomes public, every time a related case gets headlines, Duck's name comes back, and with it, The footage, and with it, his mother's grief, dragged back to the surface again. Days after Duck's death, she held a press conference pleading for an end to retaliatory violence in the city. She is a member of Warrior Moms, a group with other mothers whose children have died due to violence. Warrior Moms, the name alone tells you what kind of community she found herself in. Not a support group, but a battalion of women who chose to fight rather than disappear. On one date, a fire broke out in Weekly's Inglewood apartment, resulting in the death of her 3-year-old daughter, Leandrea White. Investigators believe the fire may have been accidentally started by the child playing with a lighter. A 3-year-old daughter, before FBG Brick, before FBG Duck. Lashina Weekly's losses started long before the rap beef made headlines. Her entire life has been a sequence of unbearable losses, and somehow, she kept standing up. She described collapsing upon seeing FBG Brick's body, and how her younger son Carlton knelt beside her as she pleaded with him not to retaliate. She reportedly said, "Don't do anything stupid. I need you with me." Carlton was there when his brother died. He was the one kneeling beside his mother in the street, absorbing her grief and her fear. And then 6 years later, he was the one in the street. And there was no one kneeling beside her that time. That context, that history, is what makes the footage so crushing for her to face. It's not just the video of her son being shot 16 times. It's everything that came before it. Every loss she stacked underneath that moment that makes it so heavy. The surveillance footage that Chicago police released publicly was the footage that broke everything wide open for the general public. Surveillance video shows 4 men sprinting down the steps of a building at Parkway Gardens Apartments and getting into 2 waiting cars. Police pod cameras and license plate readers tracked the 2 cars as they sped to the Gold Coast area. Police say Kenneth Roberson drove a Chrysler 300, while Carlos Offord drove a rented Ford Fusion. At approximately 4:26 in the afternoon, 2 vehicles, a silver Chrysler 300 and a black Ford Fusion, pulled up nearby. 4 gunmen emerged from the vehicles. It looks choreographed on camera. 2 cars, 4 men, time to the second. That's not opportunistic street violence. That's an operation. And the footage makes that undeniably clear to anyone who watches it. Kenneth Roberson, alias Kenny Mack, was the driver, actively participating in the getaway from Oak Street. Carlos Offord, known as Los, drove one of the vehicles used in the attack, facilitating the gunman's approach and escape. So the drivers weren't just getaway men, they were operators, integral parts of the machine. And the cameras caught all of them. Christopher Thomas, alias C-Thang, was involved in planning the murder, coordinating logistics with the other perpetrators. Allegedly, he stood over FBG Duck while shooting him. Stood over him. That's not a frantic shooting in the middle of a confrontation. That's a deliberate act. And it's one of the details that came out of testimony and evidence during the trial that made the verdict so decisive because it removed any argument about accident or confusion. Charles Liggins, known by the alias C. Murda, was one of the primary shooters in the attack. He was identified via surveillance footage and witness statements as having fired multiple rounds at Williams. The surveillance footage was that specific. It identified individual shooters. It placed them at the scene. It tracked their movements before and after. And then the prosecutors matched those images to faces, and the faces to lives that were inextricably linked to O Block, and to the order that allegedly came from Vaughn. Now here's where the took her to the O footage comes back into the picture. Because for Mama Duck, and for every person paying attention to this case, the music video isn't separate from the surveillance video. It's the prequel. It's Vaughn putting on camera for the world to see exactly what he intended to happen to a man named Duck. Released in February 2020, the music video added a whole new layer to the legend. Directed by Joan Pabon, it features Vaughn in a therapy session. That framing device, the therapy session, is almost darkly ironic in retrospect. Vaughn rapping his story to a therapist, recounting what happened. And what he's recounting, according to prosecutors and an FBI agent, is a fictionalized version of his real-life intentions toward the man called Duck. The scenes cut between the therapist's office and dramatizations of the street encounter. We see the girl, the car, the brick through the window, and the eventual shooting. It's cinematic, it's produced, it has lighting and editing and a director. And in the middle of all that production value is a scene depicting the death of a character named Duck, shot by a man named Vaughn, 6 months before a man named Carlton Weekly, who rapped as FBG Duck, was shot to death on Oak Street. FBI agent Dominique Dixon said the song includes references to both Duck and his late brother, FBG Brick, and the video shows Vaughn fatally shooting a man who shares the same features as Duck. Same features, same name, same rivalry. When that video played inside a federal courtroom, and jurors watched it in the context of a murder trial, the weight of what it represented was impossible to ignore. Jurors watched King Vaughn's video for Took Her to the O, which prosecutors say refers to O Block in the Parkway Gardens housing complex that serves as the gang faction's power base. The song was released months before Duck was killed and allegedly served as a foreshadowing of his violent death. Foreshadowing, that's the word prosecutors used. And it's the word that lodged itself in the public consciousness. Because once you've seen the music video and then seen the surveillance footage, the connection between the two becomes impossible to dismiss. In the song, Vaughn meets a girl at a store. He charms her, they get in the car, and things go south when a man named Duck shows up. For the casual listener, it's a gritty tale. For those tapped into Chicago's South Side, it was a blatant reference to the real-life rivalry between Vaughn's O Block crew and FBG Duck's camp from 63rd Street. It wasn't coded, it wasn't ambiguous. People who knew the landscape heard that song and knew exactly what Vaughn was saying and who he was saying it about. King Vaughn's breakout single, Took Her to the O, makes mention of killing Duck in the lyrics, and has since gone triple platinum. Triple Platinum, a song that references the killing of a real person, recorded while that real person was still alive, released 6 months before his death, played hundreds of millions of times, and his mother has seen all of it. At a news conference in the Loop, Duck's girlfriend and mother, Lashina Weekly, joined their attorneys to decry Duck's rap counterparts and the companies that have enriched them. That press conference was something. She stood there, in the same city where her son was killed, and pointed her finger directly at the people she says are responsible. Not just the men who are already in prison, the men who are still out here, the men who are still collecting checks. Without a doubt, Lil Durk, OTF, King Vaughn, O Block, a criminal organization, could never have achieved the international fame and become so emboldened to kill a rival musician without the promotion, distribution, and financial support provided to them by these record companies. Attorney Roosevelt Allen III said, that statement, delivered at a public press conference, reframed the entire case. It wasn't just about the men on the street with guns. It was about the infrastructure that elevated those men, financed them, distributed their music, and kept collecting money as the body count climbed. Lashina Weekly, mother of slain Chicago rapper FBG Duck, holds a plaque with her son's picture. During that outdoor news conference, she held a plaque with his picture. That's what she was left with, a plaque. While the music played on, the streams kept running, and the label kept operating. She held her son's picture and said, "This isn't over." Durk and the labels knew Vaughn had a vendetta against FBG Duck and consistently sought to build a brand of violence and reality rap, based on committing real acts of violence on Duck and the public at large. They understood that reality rap, violence, controversy, beefs, and notoriety were good for driving increased record sales, streams, and views, for building a brand and profiting from a violent image. The suit states, that's the heart of her argument. Not that they held the guns, but that they held the purse strings. They funded the men who held the guns. They distributed the music that glorified what those men did, and they kept cashing the checks afterward. In 2024, she filed a high-profile wrongful death lawsuit against rapper Lil Durk, his record label, and the estate of King Vaughn, alleging their involvement in her son FBG Duck's murder. King Vaughn was dead, but his estate was still alive. And Mama Duck wasn't letting the estate die in peace, while her son's name got replayed on every streaming platform connected to the music that allegedly set his death in motion. The mother of rapper FBG Duck filed an explosive lawsuit that seeks to connect rap superstar Lil Durk and his slain protege King Vaughn to her son's gang-related killing in the Gold Coast. This is the move that took a completed criminal case and opened it back up into something far larger. The gunmen are in prison. The trial is over. The verdict is in. But the lawsuit extends the radius of accountability in a direction that the criminal justice system couldn't reach: the music industry itself. The list of defendants in the wrongful death lawsuit is wide-ranging and includes Derek Lil Durk Banks and the estate of Davon King Von Bennett, their high-profile record labels, the City of Chicago, Dolce & Gabbana, 2 private security firms, and the 6 members and associates of the O Block faction of the Black Disciples who were convicted in Duck's slaying. Everyone She sued everyone, the city that took 17 minutes to send paramedics, the luxury store that failed to secure its own entrance, the private security firms that weren't there, the labels that distributed the music, and the men who are already sitting in prison cells with life sentences. That's not a scattershot lawsuit. That's a mother who has spent 4 years doing the math on every single point of failure, that let her son die on a sidewalk in broad daylight, and then decided to name every single one of them. To understand why that footage hit Mama Duck the way it did, you have to understand how deep this particular war ran, and how far back it goes. Because the shooting on Oak Street didn't start on Oak Street. It started in the music, long before the guns came out. And the music started in a rivalry between two sides of Chicago's South Side that had been killing each other for years before either Duck or Vaughn ever picked up a microphone. Members and associates of the O Block faction of the Black Disciples targeted Duck, real name Carlton Weekly, after he released a scathing song called Dead Bitches. Duck was a member of the rival Tucaville faction of the Gangster Disciples, and that song is just one of the tracks the government seized on to make its case that O Block is a criminal enterprise. Two factions, two rival gangs, and between them, a rap war that escalated from diss tracks to a murder that landed 6 men in prison for life. Duck's murder stemmed from a bitter feud between O Block and Duck's Tucaville faction of the Gangster Disciples, which was memorialized in a series of violent rap songs, including scathing disses between Duck and Vaughn. Memorialized. That's the word. This beef didn't disappear. It got enshrined in music. It got turned into content. It got packaged into MP3s and music videos and streaming streams. And every time someone hit play, the fire burned a little hotter. A response from the targets arose when rappers FBG Duck and Ruga dropped their own remix of a song on February 4. That back and forth diss answered by diss, verse answered by verse, is the rhythm of drill music beef at its most raw. And in Chicago's South Side ecosystem, those songs weren't just entertainment. They were declarations. They were public announcements of who you were against, and what you were prepared to do about it. Durk and Vaughn, identified in the suit as high-ranking members of different sets of the Black Disciples gang, are known for waging a battle of diss tracks. High-ranking. That distinction matters enormously, because the lawsuit's argument isn't that Vaughn was some fringe figure who happened to make a song with Duck's name in it. The argument is that he was a leader, and that when a leader in that ecosystem places a price on someone's head, the machinery around him moves. Davon Daquan Bennett, King Vaughn, was an American rapper from Chicago, affiliated with the Black Disciples gang of the city's South Side. He was considered a preeminent figure in the drill genre of music. Bennett gained recognition for his storytelling and distinctive lyricism, which often drew from his own experiences. That's the thing about Vaughn that made his music so powerful and so dangerous at the same time. The storytelling wasn't fictional. His bars weren't constructed from imagination. They were dispatches from a war he was actually fighting. His 2020 single, Took Her to the O, received a triple platinum certification by the RIAA. The latter peaked within the top 50 of the Billboard Hot 100, preceding the release of his debut studio album. Welcome to O Block, in 2020, a top 50 Billboard hit, a debut album that cracked the top 5 on the Billboard 200. That's not a street rapper making local music for local people. That's a mainstream artist with a global audience. And every one of those mainstream fans was consuming music that was, according to prosecutors, a documentation of real street violence. The album achieved both critical and commercial success, peaking at number 5 on the Billboard 200 and earning a platinum certification. Number 5. Platinum Album. This is the commercial machine that Mama Duck's lawsuit is pointing at when it says the killing of her son helped build an international brand, because Took Her to the O dropped in February 2020. Duck was killed in August 2020, and Welcome to O Block dropped the same month Duck died. The timeline is not incidental. Vaughn actually wrote most of the lyrics for Took Her to the O while he was locked up in jail. He didn't even have a beat yet. He wrote the song in a cell, rapping about a man named Duck while sitting behind bars. And then he got out, recorded it, put a music video on it, put Duck's face on the victim in that video, and released it to the world 6 months before the actual killing. That's the sequence of events Mama Duck has been living with. In the song, Vaughn meets a girl at a store. He charms her. They get in the car, and things go south when a man named Duck shows up. For people who didn't know the street context, it was a movie-style narrative. Vivid, compelling, the kind of storytelling that made Vaughn stand out in a crowded genre. But for anyone who knew who Duck was, anyone from that Chicago ecosystem, that song was a threat wrapped in music production. It is heavily implied that the man Vaughn shoots in the video is FBG Duck, another rapper and a member of a rival neighborhood. Heavily implied. That's the careful language of Wikipedia. In the streets and in the courtroom, there was nothing heavy about the implication. It was explicit. It was a character with Duck's name, Duck's neighborhood affiliation, and Duck's physical appearance, shot on camera by a man whose real-world rivalry with the real Duck was already documented in multiple other songs. The clip in the video appears to include a violent reference to someone from 63rd Street, similar to the diss King Vaughn made in Took Her to the O. Duck's gang faction, Tookaville, is based around 63rd and St. 63rd Street. That's not a throwaway detail. It's a geographic tag, a code that anyone in Chicago's drill scene reads immediately. When you name the block, you name the person. And Vaughn named both. Without the jury present, prosecutors sparred with defense attorneys about a video blog that appears to show Vaughn handing out stacks of cash to associates at an apartment at Parkway Gardens in May 2020. Cynthia Giacchetti, an attorney for one of the defendants, raised concerns that the video could lead jurors to believe this money is sinister and connected to the murder of Duck in some way. May 2020, 3 months before Duck was killed. Cash being handed out at Parkway Gardens, the O Block headquarters. And prosecutors wanted that on the screen in front of jurors because they argued it showed Vaughn managing his crew financially in the lead up to the murder. The defense's response to that video was telling their argument. That it's normal for celebrities to hand out cash actually confirms how far the world of Vaughn's music and the world of Vaughn's street life had merged. Because you can't separate a celebrity handing out cash from a gang leader paying his crew, when the celebrity and the gang leader are the same person, operating in the same building, in the same organization. Steve Greenberg, one of Robertson's lawyers, sought to show music videos by Blink-182, Drake, and the rapper YG, to demonstrate that a musician handing out money is not unusual. The defense was basically arguing that Vaughn was just doing what Drake does. But Drake's cash handouts don't show up in federal racketeering cases connected to murders. That distinction is the entire ballgame. They understood that reality rap, violence, controversy, beefs, and notoriety were good for driving increased record sales, streams, and views, for building a brand and profiting from a violent image, the suit states. OTF emerged from a collective of gangs on Chicago's South Side and serves as a hub for the O Block criminal enterprise and street gang, according to the lawsuit. A hub, not just a label, not just a record company. A hub for the criminal enterprise itself. And the lawsuit argues that the record labels that distributed that music knew exactly what they were plugging into. She alleged that Alamo Records, Sony Music Entertainment, Universal Music Group Recordings, and Empire Distribution knowingly profited from artists with gang affiliations and promoted diss tracks between them. Sony, Universal, Empire, Alamo, these are not small distributors operating in some underground corner of the music world. These are the largest music companies on the planet, and Mama Duck's lawsuit names all of them as participants in the commercial ecosystem that she says got her son killed, and that they let it happen anyway because the streams justified it. The lawsuit alleges that this kind of reality rap, where artists blur the lines between fictional lyrics and real-life events, drives engagement through controversy and violence. The suit claims that the labels, including Sony, saw financial opportunity in promoting artists with criminal backgrounds, essentially turning their music into a dangerous product. A dangerous product. That's the legal frame. If a company knowingly distributes a product that it understands to be dangerous, that it understands to be causing real-world harm, that company has liability. That's the theory, and it's a theory that a judge in 2026 allowed to move forward. A judge rejected efforts by the city of Chicago, Lil Durk, and only the Family Entertainment to dismiss the case, ruling that unresolved questions about conspiracy and involvement in the events leading to Mr. Weekly's death must be addressed as the lawsuit moves forward. Let that sink in. All three of them, the city, Durk, and OTF, tried to get the case thrown out. The judge said no. The case continues. Mama Duck's fight is still very much alive. FBG Duck's mother says that a court has ruled in her favor regarding her wrongful death lawsuit against Lil Durk for her son's death. Weekly posted about the ruling on Instagram, writing, "The ruling is in and my son gets his day in court. The court ruled we can continue our lawsuit against Lil Durk and the record labels. That post hit the internet like a second verdict, because the first verdict, the criminal convictions, sent 5 men to prison for life. But this ruling in the civil case potentially reaches into the pockets of people who never held a gun and never drove a car to Oak Street. In an update on Instagram, she confirmed that a judge recently ruled that she can bring her case to court. "The ruling is in and my son gets his day in court," she wrote. The court ruled we can continue our lawsuit against Lil Durk and the record labels. Every time she posts something like that, the internet absorbs it. Her social media has become a live feed of a mother's pursuit of every available form of justice. And because Duck's fan base is still enormous and Vaughn's fan base is still enormous, every one of those posts lands in the middle of an ongoing, very online culture war. Weekly has frequently used social media and interviews to speak about her grief, criticize the glorification of violence in drill music, and respond to other artists, including Lil Durk, who have referenced her son's death in their music. She's not just a plaintiff, she's a presence. And every time someone in the drill world references her son in a way she finds disrespectful, she's going to respond. That's the kind of person she is. That's the kind of person she became. In October 2024, Chicago rapper and Bennett's close friend Lil Durk was arrested near Miami International Airport on federal charges, including conspiracy to commit murder for hire. The charges allege that Durk orchestrated a plot targeting rapper Quando Rondo, purportedly in retaliation for the 2020 killing of Bennett, resulting in the death of Quando Rondo's cousin, Saviaya Lul Pob Robinson. Durk's arrest is not part of the Duck case, but it is context, because it shows that the violence which Mama Duck's lawsuit describes as an ongoing enterprise didn't end with Vaughn's death. The people the lawsuit names have continued operating in exactly the way the lawsuit says they operated. The situation comes as Lil Durk remains behind bars while awaiting trial in his murder for hire case. Behind bars, while the civil lawsuit against him moves forward, while Mama Duck's attorneys prepare their case, while the footage of what happened to her son keeps circulating online. The world around this story keeps spinning, and she's at the center of it. Attorneys for FBG Duck's estate on Lil Durk's murder for hire arrest, one step closer to justice. Durk was arrested in the South Florida area on Thursday. One step closer to justice, that's how her legal team framed it. Not as a separate case, but as one more brick in the structure they're building. Every piece of evidence, every arrest, every headline that confirms the broader pattern of violence they've alleged in their lawsuit is ammunition. Durk and Vaughn, identified in the suit as high-ranking members of different sets of the Black Disciples gang, are known for waging a battle of diss tracks. The war in the music wasn't a side effect of the gang war. According to the lawsuit, it was the gang war, conducted publicly, on streaming platforms, in front of hundreds of millions of viewers, with the full financial and logistical support of major record labels. The lawsuit claims Lil Durk's OTF label, which Vaughn was a part of, acted as a criminal enterprise, profiting from a violent image through the use of reality rap and diss tracks. It alleges that both Durk and Vaughn leveraged their rap beef with Duck to boost their brands, streams, and sales by promoting violence through their music. Leveraged. That's the right word for what the suit is describing. Not just that violence happened around their music, but that they actively used the beef, the violence, and the aftermath to build their brand. And the brand paid off enormously. According to the lawsuit, these entities monetized the killing of FBG Duck by capitalizing on the gang rivalry in their music and public personas. The suit argues that OTF grew its fame and financial success by glorifying real-world gang violence, with Duck's murder being a key moment in their rise. A key moment in their rise. That framing is what makes this lawsuit so sharp and so painful for anyone connected to Duck's memory, because it says that his death wasn't a tragedy that happened alongside their success. It was, at least in part, a driver of it. Prosecutors played a series of videos in an effort to prove that rapper FBG Duck was gunned down on the Gold Coast as part of a year-long gang war stoked by a series of diss tracks. A year-long gang war. That's not two guys beefing on Twitter. That's an extended, documented conflict that prosecutors mapped from song to song, from post to post, from pendant to pendant, and finally to the footage of the actual murder. The music was the paper trail. Jurors also saw a video released by Offered, also known as Losa Dosa, in which he dons an O-block pendant while rapping at Parkway Gardens. Prosecutors also played a clip of a song that Smart, or MUWAP, posted to Instagram nearly a year after Duck was killed. Nearly a year after. Still posting, still rapping, still wearing the pendant. The bragging was ongoing and extensive, and it handed prosecutors evidence they didn't even have to work to find. It was sitting in plain sight on Instagram. The shooters bragged about the murder in live stream videos and music videos for a year. For a year, Mama Duck watched all of that. Every post, every live stream, every video where the men who killed her son celebrated it publicly. That's what she was watching. And when she says the people responsible told on themselves, she's not exaggerating. She watched it happen in real time. Another shooter, Ezel Rawls, also known as Zell Munna, was reportedly involved in the murder of FBG Duck. He died on August 24, 2021, shortly before several individuals were indicted in connection with the case. Zell Munna, the fifth shooter, died before he could stand trial, before he could face Mama Duck in a courtroom, before he could hear a judge sentence him to life. That's a detail that sits uneasily alongside the rest of the verdicts, because the family never got to see him face consequences. Following their arrests, the 5 defendants faced multiple court hearings and pre-trial motions in the lead-up to their trial. Defense attorneys for all 5 argued that the prosecution's evidence, relying heavily on surveillance footage and social media, was circumstantial and insufficient to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Circumstantial. That was the defense's entire case. That you can't convict someone just because they're on camera near the scene, or because they post trophies on Instagram, or because a cooperating witness testifies about what they said. The jury didn't buy it. Not even close. After several days of deliberation, the jury returned a verdict, finding all 5 defendants guilty of murder, attempted murder, and conspiracy to commit murder. The convictions affirmed the prosecution's narrative of a planned gang-related assassination. Planned, gang-related assassination. Those 3 words in one sentence tell you the full scope of what the jury concluded, that this was not a street fight gone wrong, not an impulsive act, not a case of mistaken identity. It was an organized execution, and the men in the courtroom were the ones who carried it out. All 6 defendants were found guilty of murder on January 17, 2025. January 2025. More than 4 years after the murder. That's how long Mama Duck waited for that courtroom moment. 4 years of funerals and press conferences and social media posts, and interviews and footage and trials and appeals and motions. And then, finally, a jury came back and said guilty, across the board, for all of them. All 5 were sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole following their convictions. Life without parole. The most definitive possible statement from a criminal justice system that for 4 years had been slow to fully respond to what happened on Oak Street. When the system finally delivered, it delivered completely. Days after Duck's death, she held a press conference pleading for an end to retaliatory violence in the city. She was out there in the days after his death, calling for peace, asking the city not to let this spiral. And then she spent 4 years fighting in courtrooms and on social media and in interviews to make sure the people who killed him faced the full weight of the law. And now she's not done yet, because the civil suit is still open and the music is still playing. In August 2021, she helped organize an event that sent over 50 youths to Six Flags Great America to provide them with a temporary escape from the city's violence. While the criminal case was working its way through the federal system, she was out in the community doing the work. Sending kids to an amusement park, trying to give them a day that had nothing to do with the streets. That's not the behavior of someone who collapsed under the weight of her loss. That's someone who turned grief into fuel. She is a member of Warrior Moms, a group with other mothers whose children have died due to violence. Every woman in that group has her own version of Mama Duck's story, her own surveillance footage somewhere, her own trial, her own pending lawsuit, her own social media posts demanding justice while the internet cycles through her son's death as content. Warrior Moms exists because Chicago's violence has produced so many of these women that they found each other and decided to fight together. The footage that's circulating now, the Took Her to the O video, the surveillance clips, the body cam footage, it's all feeding back into a story that Mama Duck refuses to let be finished. And that refusal is what's keeping the pressure on everyone from the label executives to the judge presiding over her civil case. The suit also accuses Dolce & Gabbana of failing to provide adequate security at their store, where the shooting took place, and claims that a security guard abandoned his post. a security guard who abandoned his post. If that's accurate, it means that on the afternoon her son was killed, the one layer of physical protection between him and the four men approaching with guns simply wasn't there. The suit says someone was supposed to be standing in that gap, and they weren't. Additionally, the lawsuit states that Chicago police failed to promptly respond to the scene, leaving Duck bleeding for 17 minutes before paramedics arrived. 17 minutes in the Gold Coast, one of the most heavily monitored neighborhoods in Chicago, steps from the Magnificent Mile. Duck bled for 17 minutes. The lawsuit says that's on the city too. That response time in a neighborhood with that level of resources is not acceptable, and she's asking a court to say so. The list of defendants in the wrongful death lawsuit is wide-ranging and includes Derek Lil Durk Banks and the estate of Vaughn, King Vaughn Bennett. Their high-profile record labels, the City of Chicago, Dolce & Gabbana, 2 private security firms, and the 6 members and associates of the O-Block faction of the Black Disciples who were convicted in Duck's slaying. Every single defendant in that list represents a different failure, a different point where something could have intervened and didn't. And Mama Duck's lawsuit is a document of all of them. The lawsuit accuses Lil Durk, OTF, and other recording companies including Alamo Records, Sony Music Entertainment, Universal Music Group Recordings, and Empire Distribution of wrongful death, civil conspiracy, negligence, and failure to render aid. Failure to render aid. That charge isn't just about the shooting. It's a broader accusation that these entities, knowing what was happening in the world they built and financed, failed to intervene, failed to stop the escalation, failed to render anything resembling aid to the people being targeted by the violence their music promoted. The plaintiffs claim these companies knowingly signed and promoted artists with gang affiliations, profiting from the violent rivalry between OTF and other factions. Knowingly. That word is doing all the legal work here. Negligence would require showing they should have known. Civil conspiracy requires showing they acted together with knowledge. And the suit argues they did. That the labels weren't just passive recipients of violent content, but active participants in the ecosystem that produced it. Lil Durk engaged in, planned, approved the bounty on FBG Duck's life, and condoned the acts of violence King Vaughn engaged in when he knew or should have known of the violent conduct and violent histories of Vaughn and other known gang members he affiliated with. The suit reads, approved the bounty. Those are the words in the lawsuit. Not that he was nearby, not that he knew about it, that he approved it. That's the allegation driving the entire civil case. And it's what Mama Duck says the footage, the trial evidence, and the FBI documents all point to. Lil Durk and the estate of the late King Vaughn, along with their OTF label and associated record companies and distributors, are being accused of responsibility for rapper FBG Duck's killing and of glorifying and profiting from it in the lawsuit by Duck's mother and 2 bystanders injured in the shooting. The suit mentions an allegation first reported in 2023 that Vaughn placed a $100,000 bounty on Duck. First reported in 2023. Then the FBI declassified documents confirmed it. Then a cooperating witness testified to it in federal court. And then Mama Duck's lawsuit weaponized all of it into a civil action that the court has now allowed to proceed. The suit holds Durk, who signed Vaughn to his OTF label, responsible for the alleged bounty as well. That's the most legally aggressive part of the entire filing. Not just that Vaughn placed the bounty, but that Durk, as the person who signed Vaughn, who ran the label Vaughn operated under, who was by all accounts Vaughn's closest associate in the music industry, is also responsible for what Vaughn did with the power and resources that relationship gave him. Lil Durk knew long before 2020 that King Vaughn had a vendetta against FBG Duck, sought to rob and kill in the music industry, and consistently sought to build a brand of violence and reality rap. Based on committing real acts of violence on FBG Duck and the public at large, the suit claims. King Vaughn was killed in November 2020 in Atlanta, just 3 months after Duck was murdered in Chicago. 3 months, Duck dies in August. Vaughn dies in November. In the same year, the 2 men at the center of the most documented rap beef in Chicago's recent history, both dead, within months of each other, both of them leaving behind families and leaving behind a story that is still being argued in courtrooms. On November 6, 2020, at around 3 a.m., Bennett and his crew were involved in an altercation with Quando Rondo's crew outside of the Monaco Hookah Lounge in Atlanta, Georgia. King Vaughn was at a club in Atlanta when his own life ended. He'd survived years in Chicago. survived federal charges, survived the gang wars that took people around him, and he died in Atlanta, outside a hookah lounge, in someone else's beef. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation reported that 2 people were killed and 6 wounded. One of the wounded men, while being treated for a gunshot wound, was placed in police custody for Bennett's murder. The suspect was identified as 22-year-old Timothy Lil Tim Leaks, a rapper affiliated with Quando Rondo, and then the charges against Leaks were eventually dropped under Georgia's Stand Your Ground law. So the man identified as responsible for King Vaughn's death walked free, while 5 men who killed Duck under Vaughn's alleged order are serving life sentences. That asymmetry is not lost on anyone paying attention. In August 2023, charges were dropped against Leaks under Georgia's Stand Your Ground law. Stand Your Ground, the same law that was applied in Florida in cases that sent shockwaves through the country, applied here in Atlanta to let the man arrested for Vaughn's murder go free. The irony is not subtle, and for the people who loved Vaughn, and for the people who loved Duck, and for the people watching all of it from the outside, it just added another layer of bitterness to an already impossible situation. Looming over the case is rapper King Vaughn, who allegedly placed a bounty on Duck's head. He was never charged in the case and was killed in an apparently unrelated shooting in Atlanta. Never charged. That's the detail that Mama Duck has had to live with through all of this. The man she says orchestrated her son's killing died before the law could touch him. He went to his grave without ever sitting at a defense table, without ever hearing a jury read a verdict about his role in what happened. But Mama Duck found a different table for him to sit at. A civil court table where his estate now has to answer for what the lawsuit says he set in motion. You can't imprison an estate, but you can sue it. And she did. And the court said that case can continue. On October 9, 2024, it was reported that Bennett's estate, along with both Durk and OTF records, were named in a wrongful death lawsuit by the estate and family of Weekly. The estate, his money, his royalties, the streaming revenue that took her to the O, with 288 million views and triple platinum status, continues to generate. Mama Duck is asking the court to redirect some of that toward accountability for what she says that song, and the man who made it, set in motion. The lawsuit and its attorneys claimed that Durk and his OTF Records imprint, of which Bennett was a signee, were profiting off of Weekly's death through negligence and misconduct. Negligence and misconduct. In the language of civil law, those words carry specific legal weight. And the fact that a judge allowed the case to move forward means those allegations aren't being dismissed as baseless. They're going to be examined. Evidence will be presented. Discovery will happen, and Mama Duck will get her day in court. A judge rejected efforts by the city of Chicago, Lil Durk, and only the Family Entertainment to dismiss the case, ruling that unresolved questions about conspiracy and involvement in the events leading to Mr. Weekly's death must be addressed as the lawsuit moves forward. The motion to dismiss was rejected. 3 separate defendants tried to kill the case before it started, and the judge said no. Unresolved questions. That's what the court identified, and those unresolved questions belong to Mama Duck. Our fight continues, she wrote. I want to thank my attorney Roosevelt Allen and his team for their exceptional work on this case. The fight continues, 4 years out from the murder. 3 rounds of legal proceedings, 1 criminal conviction, 1 civil case moving forward. And Mama Duck hasn't stopped. She is not going to stop. Not until every version of accountability available to her has been fully exhausted. There's a version of this story where King Vaughn is just a rapper who made a great song, where Took Her to the O is just drill music, doing what drill music does, telling street stories with graphic honesty, building a fan base going triple platinum. And for a lot of people, that's the only version they know. They heard the song, loved the storytelling, and moved on. They never had to think about the weight of the name Duck in those lyrics. But there's another version of this story, the one that lives in the federal court records, in the FBI declassified documents, in the cooperating witness testimony. And in that version, the record label is not a passive backdrop. It's part of the architecture of what happened on Oak Street. OTF emerged from a collective of gangs on Chicago's South Side and serves as a hub for the O-Block criminal enterprise and street gang, according to the lawsuit. That's the foundational allegation. Not that OTF was associated with criminal activity. Not that some of its artists had criminal backgrounds, but that the label itself was a hub, a center of operations for the O-Block enterprise. And that everything that flowed from that enterprise, including the murder of FBG Duck, had the label's fingerprints on it. Upon Vaughn's release from jail in December 2017, fellow rapper Lil Durk signed Vaughn to Durk's Only the Family label. December 2017, Vaughn walked out of Cook County Jail after being acquitted of a murder charge, and within months, he had a record deal. Durk signed him, gave him resources, infrastructure, distribution, and a platform. And along with all of that, according to the lawsuit, came the tacit endorsement of everything Vaughn was, everything he represented, and everything he was still doing in the streets. In July 2014, Bennett was charged with 1 count of first-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted murder in connection with a shooting that killed 1 and injured 2 others. After being detained in the Cook County Jail for over 3 years, he was acquitted in December 2017 and began his musical career. 3 years in Cook County, awaiting trial for murder, then acquitted, then signed. That's the trajectory of King Vaughn's entry into the music industry. And the lawsuit's argument is that Durk, who was already established in Chicago's drill scene, knew exactly what he was signing, not just musically, but personally. Lil Durk knew long before 2020 that King Vaughn had a vendetta against FBG Duck, sought to rob and kill in the music industry, and consistently sought to build a brand of violence and reality rap based on committing real acts of violence on FBG Duck and the public at large, knew long before 2020. The suit isn't arguing that Durk found out about the beef when Took Her to the O dropped. It's arguing he knew for years that this vendetta was known and ongoing, and that nothing was done to stop it. The label, which included Vaughn as a signee, has held contracts with the media giant Sony and other large labels, which allegedly welcomed artists engaged in criminal activity. Sony, one of the most recognizable corporate names in global entertainment. The lawsuit puts Sony in the room. It says that Sony's relationship with OTF through the distribution chain made it a participant in the system that produced the conditions for Duck's murder. That's the most sweeping part of Mama Duck's legal theory, that the reach of accountability extends all the way up to the multinational corporations at the top of the music industry food chain. She alleged that Alamo Records, Sony Music Entertainment, Universal Music Group Recordings, and Empire Distribution knowingly profited from artists with gang affiliations and promoted diss tracks between them. 4 of the largest companies in recorded music history, named in a wrongful death lawsuit filed by a mother from Chicago's South Side who buried 2 sons. That's the scale of what Mama Duck is attempting here. She's not just suing the man on the street with the gun. She's suing the entire vertical that she says enabled him. The lawsuit also names major record labels, like Sony, accusing them of knowingly promoting and distributing violent content that contributed to FBG Duck's killing. Contributed. Not caused alone. Contributed. That framing leaves room for a complex causal chain. The shooter pulled the trigger. Vaughn allegedly placed the order. Durk allegedly approved or enabled it. The labels distributed the music that documented and celebrated the violence. Each link in that chain contributed, and the lawsuit wants a court to say so. Lil Durk and the estate of the late King Vaughn, along with their OTF label and associated record companies and distributors, are being accused of responsibility for rapper FBG Duck's killing and of glorifying and profiting from it. Glorifying. That's the word that connects to the footage most directly, because the footage, the music video, is the most visible example of glorification in the entire case. A triple platinum video with 288 million views, depicting the killing of a man named Duck, made by a man who allegedly put a 6-figure bounty on the real Duck's head. That's not subtle glorification. That's a commercial product built on the bones of a beef that ended in a murder. The suit claims Durk's OTF struck gold with violence and reality rap, through the actual violence committed against FBG Duck and the public at large. Struck gold. That's a deliberately commercial phrase, and that's the point. The lawsuit isn't speaking in moral terms. It's speaking in economic terms. The violence wasn't just wrong, it was profitable. And the profit is what makes it a lawsuit rather than just a grievance. They understood that reality rap, violence, controversy, beefs, and notoriety were good for driving increased record sales, streams, and views, for building a brand and profiting from a violent image, the suit states. That sentence is almost clinical in its analysis of how the music industry operates. And the disturbing thing about it is that it's not factually wrong about the industry in general. Controversy drives streams. Beef drives engagement. Violence, tragedy, and notoriety all translate into clicks. The lawsuit is just saying that in this specific case, the people at the top of the chain knew that and let the machine run. The lawsuit filed in Cook County Court holds that Durk's record label Only the Family, or OTF, is a criminal enterprise itself. The label, which included Vaughn as a signee, has held contracts with the media giant Sony and other larger labels, which allegedly welcomed artists engaged in criminal activity. Criminal enterprise, in legal terms, that's RICO language, racketeering, organized crime. The federal case against the O Block defendants was a RICO case. Now the civil lawsuit is extending that same framework to the label itself. The lawsuit claims Lil Durk's OTF label, which Vaughn was a part of, acted as a criminal enterprise, profiting from a violent image through the use of reality rap and diss tracks. Reality rap. That phrase sits at the center of the most interesting legal argument in this entire case. Because if reality rap is real, if the stories are true, if the violence depicted is actual violence, then at what point does distributing that content make you complicit in what it describes? The lawsuit alleges that this kind of reality rap, where artists blur the lines between fictional lyrics and real-life events, drives engagement through controversy and violence. Blurs the lines. That's the genre's defining feature and its legal liability at the same time. Vaughn's entire appeal was that his stories were true. That when he said he shot someone, he'd shot someone. That when he described a beef, the beef was real. And when you market yourself on the authenticity of your violence, the legal argument is that you can't then claim artistic license when someone gets killed. Looming over the case is rapper King Vaughn, who allegedly placed a bounty on Duck's head. Looming. Even in death, Vaughn looms over everything connected to this story. His music is still playing, his streams are still running. His estate is still a defendant in a lawsuit. His name still comes up every time FBG Duck's name comes up. He's been dead since November 2020, and he's still the most present figure in this entire legal saga. 6 reputed gang members found guilty in Gold Coast slaying of rapper FBG Duck. O Block is done. O Block is done. That was the verdict reaction. But is it? The label is still operating. The music is still on every platform. The royalties are still flowing. The physical O Block housing complex still exists in Parkway Gardens. The social media accounts are still active. O Block is done, is aspirational, not descriptive, and Mama Duck knows it. The lawsuit filed in Cook County alleges Durk's record label Only the Family, or OTF, is a criminal enterprise. The label, which included Vaughn as a signee, has held contracts with the media giant Sony and other large labels, which allegedly welcomed artists engaged in criminal activity. Welcomed. That's the operative word in that sentence. Not tolerated. Not overlooked. Welcomed. The argument is that the major label infrastructure saw criminal activity as a feature, not a bug, because the authenticity it generated was commercially valuable. Without the jury present, prosecutors sparred with defense attorneys about a video blog that appears to show Vaughn handing out stacks of cash to associates at an apartment at Parkway Gardens in May 2020. That vlog, Vaughn handing out cash at O Block 3 months before Duck was killed, is the kind of detail that makes the abstract theories in Mama Duck's lawsuit feel viscerally concrete. This is what the operation looked like. This is the leader distributing resources to his crew in the months before the murder. And it was all on video because Vaughn was the kind of person who documented everything. Smart was pictured with Vaughn at the jewelry store and alluded to the pendants as trophies on social media, according to evidence presented. Trophy pendants announced on social media by one of the shooters. This is the behavior that defines the telling on themselves that Mama Duck described. Nobody forced Marcus Smart to post about those pendants. Nobody forced Carlos Offered to put on an O Block chain and rap about the murder at Parkway Gardens. They chose to document their own role in her son's death. And then they were surprised when the documentation ended up in a federal courtroom. The prosecution presented a robust case, relying on key evidence such as surveillance footage capturing the attack, witness testimonies identifying the perpetrators, and social media activity that suggested premeditation and gang affiliation. Social media activity. That's how different this generation's criminal prosecutions look from any that came before. The defendants left a digital trail that didn't just place them at the scene. It documented their motivation, their celebration, and their connection to the person who allegedly ordered the hit. Jurors watched King Vaughn's video for Took Her to the O, an apparent reference to O Block, which prosecutors say also refers to the Parkway Gardens housing complex. The song was released months before Duck was killed and allegedly served as a foreshadowing of his violent death. Foreshadowing. In literary terms, that's a narrative device. In a federal murder trial, it's evidence. The prosecution used a music video as evidence, not of what happened, but of what was intended, of the mindset of the man who allegedly ordered the killing, captured on film 6 months before the killing happened. FBI agent Dominique Dixon said the song includes references to both Duck and his late brother, FBG Brick, and the video shows Vaughn fatally shooting a man who shares the same features as Duck. Both brothers, Duck and Brick, both of them referenced in the song, both of them eventually killed. FBG Brick died before the music video was even filmed, and Duck, whose name and likeness appear in the video's narrative, died 6 months after it dropped. When an FBI agent sits on a witness stand and tells a jury that a music video depicts both of those men in the context of violence, the weight of that is impossible to understate. Jurors were shown videos released by rapper King Vaughn, who allegedly placed a bounty on FBG Duck and was later gunned down in another shooting in Atlanta. Later gunned down. The jury watching Vaughn's videos was watching them knowing that Vaughn himself was dead, that the man on the screen depicting the killing of Duck had himself been killed just 3 months after Duck. The tragic symmetry of all of it was sitting in the room with the jurors, and it didn't make the evidence less damning. If anything, it made it more so. After Vaughn's passing in November 2020 and the subsequent murder trial regarding FBG Duck, federal prosecutors actually brought up Vaughn's music. They brought it up because it was relevant, because the song isn't just art, it's documentation. And when a federal prosecutor decides that a music video is relevant evidence in a murder trial, that's a legal argument about the nature of reality rap that the entire industry has been quietly terrified of for years. It sparked a massive debate in the legal world. That debate is still ongoing. At what point does a rapper's lyrical content become admissible evidence? At what point does a record label's decision to sign and distribute that content make it legally responsible for what the content describes? Those questions don't have settled answers in American law. In this case, with Mama Duck's lawsuit still moving forward, is going to push those questions further than they've ever been pushed. The lawsuit alleges that this kind of reality rap drives engagement through controversy and violence. The suit claims that the labels saw financial opportunity in promoting artists with criminal backgrounds, essentially turning their music into a dangerous product. A dangerous product in American product liability law. If you knowingly distribute a dangerous product, you're responsible for the harm it causes. The lawsuit is applying that framework to music. And while it's a novel legal theory, the judge didn't dismiss it, which means it at least clears the threshold of plausibility. Without a doubt, Lil Durk, OTF, King Vaughn, O-Block, a criminal organization, could never have achieved the international fame and become so emboldened to kill a rival musician without the promotion, distribution, and financial support provided to them by these record companies. Attorney Roosevelt Allen III said, could never have achieved the international fame. That's the causal chain in one sentence. The argument isn't just that they were famous and also violent. The argument is that the fame enabled the violence, that the resources, the reach, the commercial infrastructure that the label provided made it possible for the men who killed Duck to be as bold as they were. As a result of the murder, Lil Durk, O-Block, and OTF became international brands through social media and music streaming platforms and profited through podcasts, social media, and music streaming. In essence, they monetized the killing of FBG Duck. Monetize the killing. That sentence will follow this lawsuit into every courtroom it enters. It's the most direct, most damning articulation of what Mama Duck is alleging. Not that they committed a murder for profit, but that they turned a murder into profit. And that the profit is still coming in. The video has since amassed 288 million views on YouTube. 288 million. Every one of those views generates a fraction of a cent in revenue. Added up over years for a triple platinum song, that's real money. And some of that money flows to an estate, and that estate is a defendant in Mama Duck's lawsuit. The math is not abstract. They understood that reality rap, violence, controversy, beefs, and notoriety were good for driving increased record sales, streams, and views, for building a brand and profiting from a violent image. The suit states, building a brand, that phrase is the lawsuit's most commercially literate argument, because the suit isn't written in the language of morality, it's written in the language of business. These entities built a brand. That brand was built on violence, and the violence had a victim, and the victim's mother is suing. As a result of the murder, Lil Durk, O Block, and OTF became international brands. In essence, they monetized the killing of FBG Duck. International brands. That's the scope of it, not a local Chicago phenomenon. An international operation with major label distribution, global streaming, platinum certifications. And at the base of that global brand, the suit argues, is the body of Carlton Weekly. She accused Lil Durk, King Vaughn, and their associates of allegedly engaging in a conspiracy to murder Duck and placing a $100,000 bounty on his life. Conspiracy to murder. That's not a civil concept, that's a criminal one. But it's in the civil lawsuit because the civil standard of proof is lower than the criminal standard. You don't need beyond a reasonable doubt in a wrongful death case. You need a preponderance of the evidence, and Mama Duck's attorneys believe they have it. The suit mentions an allegation first reported in 2023 that Vaughn placed a $100,000 bounty on Duck. First reported in 2023, then FBI documents confirmed it, then a witness testified to it. Then it appeared in the civil lawsuit. Every iteration, that allegation gained another layer of corroboration, and by the time it landed in front of a civil court judge, it had already been part of a successful federal murder prosecution. In January 2023, after Bennett's death, the FBI declassified a number of documents showing that a confidential informant alleged that Bennett initially placed a $50,000 hit on Carlton FBG Duck Weekly before raising the price to $100,000. Started at 50, doubled to 100. That escalation is the detail that shifts this from a diss track rivalry into an organized murder-for-hire operation. Someone was keeping track. Someone raised the price. That's not a moment of rage. That's deliberate procurement of violence. Mama Duck says at the end of the day, losing them only hurts their close families. Losing them, both of them, Duck and Brick, two sons killed in Chicago streets, and Vaughn, the man she holds responsible for Duck's death, also killed. And nobody in those families won anything. Nobody got their loved one back. Nobody woke up the morning after the verdict feeling whole. The only people who got something out of all of it were the streaming platforms and the label executives who kept cashing checks while families buried their children. She described how the deaths of both her son and King Vaughn did nothing but hurt their families. That's a significant thing for her to say. She's not celebrating Vaughn's death. She's not holding it up as justice for Duck. She's saying that everybody who died in this beef, on both sides, left behind people who are destroyed, and the industry that stoked that beef and monetized it walked away rich. Mama Duck talks about the lead-up and repercussions of his passing, and the music that lives on. The music lives on, long after the violence, long after the trials, long after the funerals. The music is still there. Took Her to the O is still playing. Welcome to O Block is still streaming. The music doesn't stop. And for Mama Duck, every stream is a reminder that the thing that allegedly got her son killed is still generating money for the people she holds responsible. Weekly has frequently used social media and interviews to speak about her grief, criticize the glorification of violence in drill music, and respond to other artists, including Lil Durk, who have referenced her son's death in their music. After the murder. Artists who knew Duck was dead, who knew how he died, and chose to put his death in their lyrics. And she responded. Every time. Because she's not going to let her son's name become content for people who contributed to the conditions that killed him. Bennett gained recognition for his storytelling and distinctive lyricism, which often drew from his own experiences, most notably on his 2018 single Crazy Story and his 2020 single Took Her to the O, both of which received triple platinum certifications by the RIAA. Two triple platinum singles, both drawing from real life, both depicting violence that maps directly onto his actual world. The thing that made King Vaughn great as an artist is the exact thing that made his music evidence in a murder trial. He was too real, and in the end, the realness of the music is what his rivals died over, and what he eventually died over too. He was frequently incarcerated throughout the 2010s for a multitude of serious criminal charges, which made him known in Chicago's drill scene even before he began recording music. Known before the music, his reputation in the streets preceded his reputation in the studio. By the time he started making music, the people who knew him already knew what kind of life he was living. and the music was just a way to broadcast that life to the world. At age 16, Bennett went to juvenile detention for armed robbery. While incarcerated, he earned his GED. After being released, he attended a few classes at South Suburban College before dropping out. There's always a moment, a point where a different choice gets made, a point where juvenile detention becomes a turning point, instead of a chapter in a longer story of incarceration. For Vaughn, the GED was there, the college classes were there, and then the streets pulled him back. In July 2014, Bennett was charged with 1 count of first-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted murder in connection with a shooting that killed 1 and injured 2 others. After being detained in the Cook County Jail for over 3 years, he was acquitted in December 2017 and began his musical career. 3 years in county awaiting trial, 3 years of Cook County, one of the most brutal county jail systems in the country, and then acquittal, and then a record deal, and then a global music career. That's the arc. And every step of it is documented in court records, in music, and now in a wrongful death lawsuit. Vaughn Bennett had a way of making you feel like you were sitting in the backseat of a stolen car while he narrated a hit. It wasn't just music. It was reportage from a world most people only see in movies. Reportage. That word is the key to everything. If it's reportage, if the songs are accurate descriptions of real events, then the legal implications are enormous. And the trial of the O Block defendants, where Vaughn's music was entered as evidence, is the court system essentially agreeing. Yes, this is reportage. And here's what the reportage describes. Welcome to O Block achieved both critical and commercial success, peaking at number 5 on the Billboard 200 and earning a platinum certification. The latter peaked within the top 50 of the Billboard Hot 100. Number 5, Top 50 Hot 100, Platinum album. Released in the same month that FBG Duck was killed, while the body was still fresh. The album, named after the neighborhood where the murder was allegedly ordered, sold hundreds of thousands of copies, and Mama Duck watched it chart. The 5 individuals convicted in the murder of FBG Duck were all identified as members of the O Block gang, a faction with a long-standing rivalry with Weekly's Tuckerville group. Long-standing. This wasn't a beef that started with a diss track. The diss tracks were fuel poured on a fire that was already burning. The O Block Tuckerville rivalry predates the music. The music just broadcasted. And according to prosecutors, that broadcast is what escalated it to the point where 4 men drove across Chicago to kill a 26-year-old shopping for a birthday gift. Federal prosecutors linked the shooting to a year-long gang war, fueled by social media and diss tracks. Social media and diss tracks as accelerants, and the platform, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, as the infrastructure of the accelerant. That's the legal frame that makes Mama Duck's lawsuit against the record labels possible. If the labels distributed the diss tracks that fueled the year-long gang war that resulted in the murder, then the label's distribution decision is part of the causal chain. Prosecutors have played a series of videos in an effort to prove that rapper FBG Duck was gunned down on the Gold Coast in August 2020 as part of a year-long gang war, stoked by a series of diss tracks. Stoked, not just documented stoked, meaning the music didn't just reflect the war, it fed it. It made it more intense. It made it more public. It raised the stakes by putting the beef on record, literally, and making the responses to that beef feel necessary and inevitable. A lot of people think Took Her to the O was just a diss track. It's more complex than that. While it definitely targets his rivals, it's also a masterclass in suspense. That complexity is what makes it hard to categorize. As art, it's undeniably accomplished. As a threat, it's undeniably specific. And as evidence in a murder trial, played before a jury that then convicted every defendant, it was apparently persuasive. For those tapped into Chicago's South Side, it was a blatant reference to the real-life rivalry between Vaughn's O Block crew and FBG Duck's camp from 63rd Street. Blatant. That's the word that collapses the entire defense of artistic license. You can't claim the duck in the song isn't the duck. If everyone in Chicago, every fan, every blogger, every person in that ecosystem knew exactly who you were talking about. The song wasn't coded for plausible deniability. It was flagrant. Jurors watched King Von's video for Took Her to the O, which refers to O Block and the Parkway Gardens housing complex. The song was released just months before Duck was killed and allegedly served as a foreshadowing of his violent death. Foreshadowing again. That word appeared in the prosecution's framing and it landed. The jury watched the video. They understood the reference, and then they delivered a verdict that sent 5 men to prison for life. The foreshadowing in the jury's mind became prophecy, and the prophecy became evidence. FBI agent Dominique Dixon said the song includes references to both Duck and his late brother, FBG Brick, and the video shows Vaughn fatally shooting a man who shares the same features as Duck. The FBI agent sitting on a witness stand, describing a music video frame by frame. That's the moment where Took Her to the O stopped being just a song and became a piece of federal evidence in a capital murder case. And Mama Duck watched all of it from her seat in the gallery. King Vaughn, an O-Block affiliated gang member, put a $100,000 bounty on Weekly's head. After the release of the diss track Dead Bitches, King Vaughn was recorded buying diamond O-Block pendants for the defendants and giving them stacks of cash. Recorded. Again, documented. The pendant purchase was on camera. The cash handout was on camera. The music video was on camera. The murder was on camera. Defense attorneys argued that the prosecution's evidence, relying heavily on surveillance footage and social media, was circumstantial and insufficient to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Circumstantial, that argument didn't work. Not on a jury that had seen the surveillance footage of 4 men sprinting from O-Block, driving across the city, pulling up in front of Dolce & Gabbana, and opening fire. Circumstantial is a legal term that the jury apparently found unpersuasive when confronted with that footage. After several days of deliberation, the jury returned a verdict finding all 5 defendants guilty of murder, attempted murder, and conspiracy to commit murder. The convictions affirmed the prosecution's narrative of a planned gang-related assassination. Planned. That word was central to the prosecution's entire case. Not spontaneous, not reactive. Planned, coordinated, executed, and then celebrated. That's what the jury determined. And that verdict is now the foundation on which Mama Duck's civil lawsuit is built. Duck's mother is seeking justice based on evidence from the recent trial of 6 members of the O-Block faction who were convicted for their roles in Duck's murder. The lawsuit names the estate of King Vaughn, as he was alleged to have placed a bounty on FBG Duck before his own death in 2020. While Vaughn was killed before the trial began, his estate is included in the suit. His estate, after everything, after Vaughn's death, after Lil Tim's charges were dropped, after the O-Block defendants went to prison, there's still the estate, still the music, still the revenue, and Mama Duck is still there, demanding that the money that flowed from her son's death flow somewhere else. FBG Duck's mother, Lashina Weekly, is continuing her wrongful death lawsuit against Lil Durk, King Vaughn's estate, and various record labels. In an update on Instagram, she confirmed that a judge recently ruled that she can bring her case to court. She can bring it to court after everything. After 2 sons killed, after a daughter killed in a fire. After years of grief and advocacy, she's bringing it to court. And the judge said, "Let her. Our fight continues," she wrote. "I want to thank my attorney Roosevelt Allen and his team for their exceptional work on this case. Let's go. Let's go." That's not the language of someone who's tired. That's someone who has more fight left in her than most people will ever have reason to summon. And the footage that circulated, King Vaughn's video, the surveillance clips, all of it, didn't break her. It just gave her more to point to. By the time the federal trial began in November 2023, almost every piece of evidence that would define the case was already in the public domain. The surveillance footage, the music videos, the social media posts, the pendant receipts, the phone records. What the trial did was take all of that scattered, viral internet-age evidence and give it a formal structure, a story told in sequence before a jury that had never heard any of it before. The quiet calm that typically hangs over the ceremonial courtroom in Chicago's federal courthouse was displaced in recent days by the pummeling beats and hyper-violent lyrics that are signatures of the city's drill rap sound. Prosecutors played a series of videos in an effort to prove that rapper FBG Duck was gunned down on the Gold Coast in August 2020 as part of a year-long gang war stoked by a series of diss tracks. Pummeling beats in a federal courtroom. That image, the clash between those two worlds, captures something essential about why this case matters beyond the immediate facts. It's the music industry on trial, it's drill rap on trial, and behind the prosecution table, holding the evidence together, are the words and images that these men created. Following their arrests, The 5 defendants faced multiple court hearings and pretrial motions. Defense attorneys argued that the prosecution's evidence, relying heavily on surveillance footage and social media, was circumstantial and insufficient to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. 3 years of pretrial proceedings, motions to exclude evidence, arguments about whether music can be used in court, arguments about whether social media posts are admissible, all of it. Every procedural battle was Mama Duck watching a legal system slowly build toward a verdict she'd been waiting for since August 2020. The prosecution presented a robust case, relying on key evidence such as surveillance footage capturing the attack, witness testimonies identifying the perpetrators, and social media activity that suggested premeditation and gang affiliation. Premeditation, that was the word the prosecution hammered, and every piece of evidence pointed to it. The cars staged at Parkway Gardens, the guns already loaded, the route planned, the location of the target identified by a spotter who allegedly called the tip in from a phone number connected to Vaughn's network. Ralph Turpin, who allegedly alerted the other defendants to Duck's location, had talked to someone on a phone number associated with D-Thang at the time of the shooting. Prosecutors say, D-Thang, that connection, Turpin's phone call in the moments before the shooting to a number tied to D-Thang, who was connected to Lil Durk, is one of the threads that the civil lawsuit picks up and extends toward Durk himself. It's the kind of evidentiary breadcrumb that doesn't land any single defendant in prison, but adds texture to the argument that the operation had deeper roots. D-Thang was shot and killed outside a Harvey strip club in June 2021. His more famous brother appears to be identified as Individual E in court records. Individual E. That's how the FBI refers to Lil Durk in their case documents. He's in the records. He's in the evidence. He just wasn't charged in the criminal case. But Individual E is now a named defendant in a civil case, and the individual has a lawyer and a trial date. His more famous brother appears to be identified as Individual E in court records. In questioning Agent Dixon about who FBI agents had in their sights during the investigation, one of the defense lawyers suggested that Durk wasn't important. Did I say he wasn't important? Dixon shot back. Did I say he wasn't important? That exchange, terse, pointed, captured in a federal courtroom, says everything about where the FBI's attention has been focused throughout this investigation. Durk is in the records. The FBI agent won't say he's unimportant, and Mama Duck's lawsuit is built on exactly that. Looming over the case is rapper King Vaughn, who allegedly placed a bounty on Duck's head. He was never charged in the case and was killed in an apparently unrelated shooting in Atlanta. Never charged, that absence from the defendant list was one of the most significant aspects of the criminal case, because it meant the jury could hear everything about the bounty, everything about the music video, everything about the pendant purchases, and still have to deliver their verdict on the 5 men in the room, not the man who allegedly gave the order. Looming over the case is rapper King Vaughn, who allegedly placed a bounty on Duck's head. He was never charged in the case and was killed in an apparently unrelated shooting in Atlanta. His absence gave the defense a thread to pull, the argument that the man who allegedly ordered the hit wasn't there to answer for it, and therefore the connection between the defendants and Vaughn was tenuous. The jury wasn't persuaded, but the argument was made, and it's one of the reasons the civil case matters, because it drags the estate into the room. A government witness, cooperating in exchange for a reduced sentence in a gun case, testified that one of the defendants, Kenneth "Kenny Mac" Roberson, told him he took part in the brazen shooting because Vaughn had placed a hit on Duck. But Roberson, who prosecutors say is a member of another gang faction, wouldn't take an O-block chain in exchange for his role in the killing. He wouldn't take the chain. He took the money, but he wouldn't wear the pendant. That detail is one of the stranger footnotes in the entire case. The idea that there was a moment where someone offered him a diamond necklace as a reward for participation in a murder, and he turned it down. Not because of guilt, because he wasn't O-block. Kenneth Roberson, alias Kenny Mac, was the driver actively participating in the getaway from Oak Street. The driver, not one of the shooters, but convicted of murder, attempted murder, and conspiracy. Because in a coordinated hit, driving the car that enables the attack and delivers the shooters to safety is participation in the murder. The law doesn't require you to pull the trigger to be guilty of the killing. Carlos Offord, known as Los, drove one of the vehicles used in the attack, facilitating the gunman's approach and escape. His sentencing is due in 2025. 2 drivers, 2 cars, both convicted, both sentenced to life. The coordination required to stage that attack, to have 2 vehicles, 4 gunmen, a spotter, and a location tip all functioning at the same time is the definition of a criminal enterprise. And it's the definition the prosecution used to bring a RICO case. Christopher Thomas, alias C-Thang, was involved in planning the murder, coordinating logistics with the other perpetrators. Allegedly, he stood over FBG Duck whilst shooting him. His sentencing is due in 2025. Stood over him. That image, one of the gunmen standing over Duck's body and continuing to fire, is the detail that removes any ambiguity about intent. There's no "I didn't mean to" in a scenario where someone is already on the ground and you keep shooting. Charles Liggins, known by the alias C Murda, was one of the primary shooters in the attack. He was identified via surveillance footage and witness statements as having fired multiple rounds. C Murda, his alias, is essentially a confession, and the surveillance footage provided the evidence. One of the things that makes the Oak Street killing different from so many unsolved Chicago murders is that it happened on one of the most heavily surveilled blocks in the city. The cameras didn't just capture the shooting, they captured the approach, the positioning, and the getaway. Marcus Smart, known as Muwop, also played a key role in planning the attack, ensuring its execution. All 5 were sentenced to life imprisonment, without the possibility of parole following their convictions in 2024. Life without parole. 5 men, all of them. And the man who was allegedly their boss, never charged. His estate, named defendant in a civil suit. His music still playing on every platform. His story still being told 4 years after his own death. In courtrooms and in YouTube comments and in this video. All 5 were charged with murder, attempted murder, and conspiracy to commit murder, reflecting the premeditated nature of the shooting. Premeditated. That's the legal word that changes everything. An unpremeditated killing can still be murder, but premeditation signals that someone planned this, thought about it, and chose to execute it. The charge of conspiracy to commit murder means the planning itself was criminal, that the moment they agreed to do this, the crime had already begun. This lawsuit followed a January 2024 federal conviction of 6 gang members and associates tied to FBG Duck's murder. January 2024, the verdict. And then 9 months later, in October 2024, Mama Duck's civil lawsuit landed. The sequencing was deliberate because the criminal conviction built the evidentiary record that the civil lawsuit now builds on. Every guilty verdict became a piece of evidence in the civil case. Every finding of fact by the criminal jury is available for the civil case to cite. The mother of slain rapper FBG Duck has filed a lawsuit implicating some of the biggest names in Chicago's drill rap scene, including Lil Durk and the late King Vaughn. The lawsuit accuses the aforementioned artist of profiting off of her son's tragic murder in 2020, when the culprits shot and killed him in broad daylight. In broad daylight. That phrase keeps coming up, not just as a description of the time of day, but as an indictment of the audacity. They didn't wait for dark. They didn't hide. They drove to one of the most public streets in Chicago at 4:26 in the afternoon, and did this in front of witnesses and cameras. The brazenness is the point. Without the jury present, prosecutors sparred with defense attorneys about a video blog. That appears to show Vaughn handing out stacks of cash to associates at an apartment at Parkway Gardens in May 2020. An attorney raised concerns that the video could lead jurors to believe this money is sinister and connected to the murder of Duck in some way. Sinister. The defense's concern was that the jury would draw the most obvious available conclusion. And their concern was probably right, because the most obvious available conclusion was also the prosecution's theory of the case. The defense countered that the evidence was circumstantial, lacking definitive forensic links, such as fingerprints or DNA, and urged the jury to consider reasonable doubt. No fingerprints, no DNA, but surveillance footage, phone records, social media posts, a cooperating witness, and a music video played in federal court. The jury decided that was enough, and it was. After several days of deliberation, the jury returned a verdict, finding all 5 defendants guilty of murder, attempted murder, and conspiracy to commit murder. Several days, not several minutes, not several hours, days. The jury took time. They went through the evidence. They deliberated, and when they came back unanimous. Guilty on all counts for all 5 defendants. All 6 defendants were found guilty of murder on January 17, 2025. The 6th defendant, Ralph Turpin, the alleged spotter who called in Duck's location, was also convicted. So the spotter who started the chain of events that brought 2 cars and 4 gunmen to Oak Street is also going to prison for life. Every link in the chain was held accountable in the criminal case. FBG Duck's mom, Lashina Weekly, celebrates the guilty verdicts, saying, "We poppin' bottles. We poppin' bottles." She celebrated publicly, unapologetically, and the internet had feelings about it because some people thought it was inappropriate and some people thought it was exactly right. But what matters is what it meant to her. After 4 years of waiting, watching, fighting, and refusing to let this case fade, the system had delivered. Not everything, not the man who ordered it, but the men who carried it out. And for one night, she popped bottles. In the wake of their killings, Weekly became a prominent voice for peace in Chicago and has organized community initiatives. Peace. That's the word she reached for, even as she was celebrating a verdict that sent 5 men to prison. Because the verdicts don't bring Duck back. They don't undo any of it. They're just a form of institutional recognition that what happened to her son was wrong, and that people are accountable for it. On October 9, 2024, Weekly, as the administrator of her son Carlton's estate, filed a wrongful death lawsuit in Cook County Circuit Court. Administrator of his estate. That title is important. She's not just his mother. She's his legal representative in the civil courts. She's the one with standing to file the suit. She's the one whose name appears on the filing. And she's the one who will sit in that Cook County courtroom when the civil case goes to trial. FBG Duck's mother, Lashina Weekly, is continuing her wrongful death lawsuit against Lil Durk, King Vaughn's estate, and various record labels. Continuing. Present tense. Active. The criminal case is finished. The verdicts are in. The sentences are done. But the civil case is not finished. It's still moving. And Mama Duck is moving with it. FBG Duck's mother says that a court has ruled in her favor regarding her wrongful death lawsuit against Lil Durk for her son's death. Weekly posted about the ruling on Instagram, writing, "The ruling is in and my son gets his day in court. The court ruled we can continue our lawsuit against Lil Durk and the record labels. Our fight continues, day in court." That phrase has a specific weight when you understand everything it took to get here. Her son was killed in 2020. The criminal trial didn't start until 2023. The verdicts came in 2024 and 2025. The civil lawsuit was filed in 2024. And now, in 2026, a judge has said that lawsuit can proceed. That's 6 years. 6 years of fighting for a day in court. A judge rejected efforts by the city of Chicago, Lil Durk, and only the family entertainment to dismiss the case, ruling that unresolved questions about conspiracy and involvement in the events leading to Mr. Weekly's death must be addressed as the lawsuit moves forward. 3 defendants tried to shut the door. The judge said it stays open, and behind that open door is every piece of evidence that the criminal trial made public: the FBI documents, the cooperating witness testimony, the pendant receipts, the social media posts, and the music video that has 288 million views and counting. Weekly shared on Instagram that a judge has now ruled in her favor, allowing her son's murder-related lawsuit to move forward in court. Move forward. That's where this story is as of right now, moving forward. The footage is out there. The reaction is recorded. The lawsuit is alive. And Mama Duck is still fighting. Every frame of every piece of footage that circulates, the music video, the surveillance clips, the trial exhibits, feeds back into a story that she refuses to let end before justice is fully delivered. Lashina Weekly originally filed her lawsuit back in October 2024 in an attempt to get justice for her son, who was shot and killed in August 2020. She accused Lil Durk, King Vaughn, and their associates of allegedly engaging in a conspiracy to murder Duck and placing a $100,000 bounty on his life. Conspiracy to murder. That allegation in a civil court, where the burden of proof is lower than criminal, is the engine of everything that happens next. The discovery process, the depositions, the documents that the labels and the estate will have to produce. All of it starts with that allegation. Additionally, she alleged that Alamo Records, Sony Music Entertainment, Universal Music Group Recordings, and Empire Distribution knowingly profited from artists with gang affiliations and promoted diss tracks between them. Weekly argued that this fostered an environment that incited the violent behavior that led to FBG Duck's death. incited. That's the word that connects the music to the murder in the lawsuit's theory. The music didn't just document the beef, it incited escalation, it raised the temperature. It made the violence feel inevitable, and then inevitable became actual. She claims that they've turned tragic gang-related killings into commercial success, one that has earned them accolades and fame. Accolades, Grammy nominations, platinum certifications, Billboard chart positions. The accolades she's referring to arrived alongside, and possibly because of the violence that killed her son. And she's asking a court to look at that connection and call it what she says it is. FBG Duck's mother, Lashina Weekly, has filed a wrongful death lawsuit targeting Lil Durk, King Vaughn's estate, and their record label. According to the lawsuit, these entities monetized the killing of FBG Duck by capitalizing on the gang rivalry in their music and public personas. Capitalizing, not just passively benefiting, actively capitalizing on the rivalry, using the beef as content, using the violence as marketing, turning the death of a 26-year-old man into a brand story. They understood that reality rap, violence, controversy, beefs, and notoriety were good for driving increased record sales. Streams and views for building a brand and profiting from a violent image, the suit states. That sentence in the lawsuit is the most honest description of how a certain corner of the music industry operates that any legal document has ever produced. It's not wrong as a general observation, which is part of what makes it so damning as a specific allegation. Because if it's true generally, and the evidence shows it was being applied specifically to the conditions that produced Duck's murder, then the liability argument holds. The suit argues that OTF grew its fame and financial success by glorifying real-world gang violence, with Duck's murder being a key moment in their rise. A key moment. His death, and the coverage it generated, and the music that followed it. All of it elevated the O-Block brand. The lawsuit is asking the court to put a dollar figure on that elevation, and direct some of it toward the family of the man whose death made it possible. The list of defendants is wide-ranging, and includes Derek Lil Durk Banks, and the estate of Davon King Vaughn Bennett, their high-profile record labels, the city of Chicago, Dolce & Gabbana, 2 private security firms, and the 6 members and associates of the O-Block faction of the Black Disciples who were convicted in Duck's slaying. That list is a map of every institution that failed to prevent or properly respond to the killing of Carlton Weekly. The city that was slow to respond, the store that had inadequate security, the security firms that weren't there, the label that distributed the music, the estate that continues to profit from it, and the men already serving life sentences who will now have to answer in civil court too. The lawsuit accuses Lil Durk, OTF, and other recording companies of wrongful death, civil conspiracy, negligence, and failure to render aid. 4 causes of action, 4 different legal theories, each one pointing a finger at a different aspect of the machine that Mama Duck says produced her son's death. Wrongful death, they caused it. Civil conspiracy, they planned it together. Negligence, they should have known and done something. Failure to render aid, when he was dying on that sidewalk, nobody did enough to help him. Additionally, the lawsuit states that Chicago police failed to promptly respond to the scene, leaving Duck bleeding for 17 minutes before paramedics arrived. The city is on the list too, 17 minutes, in a neighborhood with abundant resources and police presence. The lawsuit is holding the city accountable for that gap, because if the response had been faster, maybe the outcome would have been different. The lawsuit paints a picture of the tragic feud between the O-Block faction of the Black Disciples and FBG Duck's Tookaville crew, which played out in a series of diss tracks and real-life violence. Played out. That's the language of a story, and the lawsuit structures the entire conflict as a narrative, beginning, middle, and end. The diss tracks were the beginning, the escalating violence was the middle, and Duck dying on Oak Street was the end, or, as Mama Duck is determined to prove, not quite the end yet. The song Took Her to the O by King Vaughn, released just months before Duck's death, allegedly referenced Duck by name and fueled the rivalry. Weekly's lawsuit seeks accountability from all parties involved in her son's death, including the music industry, which the suit claims benefited financially from the violent imagery promoted by OTF, Lil Durk, and King Vaughn. The music industry, not just the label, not just the distributor, the entire industry as a system that welcomes and profits from violent content is being put on notice by this lawsuit, and a judge has said that case can be made in court. The court's rulings confirm what we have said from the beginning, said Roosevelt Allen, managing partner of Denny Zulu Law Group. What they said from the beginning. That framing is important because it means the legal theory wasn't developed after the fact, wasn't retrofitted to fit the available evidence. They came in with a theory, and the court has now confirmed that theory is arguable. Mama Duck's attorneys believe they can win this case, and so far the judge has given them the chance to try. Lil Durk engaged in, planned, approved the bounty on FBG Duck's life, and condoned the acts of violence King Vaughn engaged in when he knew or should have known of the violent conduct and violent histories of King Vaughn and other known gang members he affiliated with. The suit reads, planned, approved, condoned. 3 verbs in one sentence, each one representing a different level of legal involvement, and each one is going to be litigated in discovery and at trial with every piece of evidence the lawsuit's attorneys can assemble. In October 2024, Lil Durk was arrested near Miami International Airport on federal charges, including conspiracy to commit murder for hire, with the charges alleging that Durk orchestrated a plot targeting rapper Quando Rondo, purportedly in retaliation for the 2020 killing of Bennett. Durk arrested on murder for hire charges. In October 2024, the same month Mama Duck filed her civil lawsuit, 2 simultaneous legal hammers falling in the same month. The timing wasn't coordinated, but the effect was cumulative. Everything that Mama Duck alleged in her lawsuit suddenly had a real-world corroboration in Durk's own federal arrest. Attorneys for FBG Duck's estate on Lil Durk's murder for hire arrest said 1 step closer to justice. 1 step closer. They didn't say it was the same case. They didn't say Durk's arrest in the Quando Rondo matter was connected to Duck's murder. They said it was 1 more step in a direction they believed was inevitable, toward full accountability for everyone they'd named in the lawsuit. The situation comes as Lil Durk remains behind bars while awaiting trial in his murder for hire case. Behind bars, the man named as a defendant in Mama Duck's civil lawsuit is currently in federal custody. The civil discovery process, the depositions, the document requests, the interrogatories will all have to be navigated around the reality of Durk sitting in a federal detention facility. That's an unusual legal environment, but it doesn't stop the civil case from proceeding. Weekly initially filed the lawsuit in October 2024, 4 years after her son's death. The suit alleges that Durk and Vaughn placed a bounty on her son's head. 4 years. Between the murder and the filing of the civil lawsuit. 4 years. 4 years of grief, of advocacy, of press conferences, of warrior moms, of criminal trials, of verdicts, of appeals, of social media posts, and then a lawsuit filed in Cook County Circuit Court with her name on it, and her son's name on it, and the names of every person and institution she holds responsible. Weekly shared on Instagram that a judge has now ruled in her favor, allowing her son's murder-related lawsuit to move forward in court. The Instagram post announcing the ruling went through the same online spaces where Duck's death was first announced, where the O-Block defendants bragged about the pendants, where Mama Duck watched the people responsible for her son's death celebrate in real time. The same platform that documented the murder is now documenting its aftermath. Every stage of this story has played out in public, and Mama Duck has used that publicity as a tool. Weekly has frequently used social media and interviews to speak about her grief, and the defendants are a who's who of Chicago hip-hop and the major label world. The claim that OTF is a criminal enterprise outside of its function as a record label is at the heart of the lawsuit. Weekly's attorneys argue that OTF operates as a front for gang-related activity, using its music and artists to legitimize and profit from violence. Legitimize and profit both. The music legitimizes the gang, turns it into a brand, gives it international exposure, creates a fan base that identifies with its identity, and the profit flows back into the enterprise. That's the circular economy Mama Duck's lawsuit is targeting. The suit claims that the label saw financial opportunity in promoting artists with criminal backgrounds, essentially turning their music into a dangerous product. Financial opportunity, not ignorance, not negligence alone. Financial opportunity. The suit is arguing that the labels made a business calculation, and that calculation involved promoting content they knew was connected to real violence, because that connection drove engagement. If that argument succeeds, it's one of the most consequential legal decisions in the history of the music industry. I want to thank my attorney Roosevelt Allen and his team for their exceptional work on this case. The court ruled we can continue our lawsuit against Lil Durk and the record labels. Our fight continues. Roosevelt Allen, he's the attorney who stood at that press conference in the Loop and said, without hesitation, that the major label system enabled a criminal enterprise. He's the attorney who drafted the lawsuit that named Sony. He's the one who's going to be standing in that Cook County courtroom when the civil trial eventually begins. Without a doubt, Lil Durk, OTF, King Vaughn, O Block, a criminal organization, could never have achieved the international fame and become so emboldened to kill a rival musician. Without the promotion, distribution, and financial support provided to them by these record companies, attorney Roosevelt Allen III said, that statement is the lawsuit's North Star. Without the promotion, meaning the music. Without the distribution, meaning the labels. Without the financial support, meaning the deals, the advances, the marketing budgets, all of it, Allen argues, made the murder possible. Not the proximate cause, but a contributing cause. And contributing causes have liability. Lashina Weekly, mother of slain Chicago rapper FBG Duck, holds a plaque with her son's picture during the outdoor news conference. A plaque with his picture. That image, a mother holding a picture of her dead son outside in the October cold, is the emotional center of everything the lawsuit is trying to say in legal language. Every filing, every motion, every argument in discovery is that woman with that plaque demanding that the world look at her son's face and reckon with what it cost him to be born into the world that made King Vaughn a global star. She became a public figure and advocate following the separate shooting deaths of her two sons, rappers Jermaine FBG Brick Robinson and Carlton FBG Duck Weekly, two sons. That's where this story began for Lashina Weekly, not with Duck's murder, but with Brick's, when Carlton was the one kneeling beside her in the street, begging her not to fall apart. And she looked at her younger son and made him a promise. Don't do anything stupid. I need you with me. And then he was taken too. She described collapsing upon seeing Brick's body and how her younger son Carlton knelt beside her as she pleaded with him not to retaliate. She reportedly said, don't do anything stupid. I need you with me. She needed him. And then she lost him. And now she's standing in the middle of a civil lawsuit with more fight left in her than most people will ever have reason to summon. Because the alternative is to let the men she holds responsible keep collecting checks while she buries her sons alone. She is a member of Warrior Moms, a group with other mothers whose children have died due to violence. Warrior Moms. That name is everything. Not grieving moms, not victim moms. Warrior, because that's what she chose. When she lost her daughter in a fire, when she lost Brick, when she lost Duck. Every time she chose to fight, to organize, to speak, to sue, and she's still choosing it. In August 2021, she helped organize an event that sent over 50 youths to Six Flags Great America to provide them with a temporary escape from the city's violence. 50 kids, out of Chicago's South Side, on a day trip to an amusement park. That's not a grand gesture. It's a practical one. It's someone who understands that you fight violence one day at a time, one kid at a time, one bus trip at a time. And you do it while simultaneously filing wrongful death suits against the largest music companies in the world. She said she feels betrayed by the person who allegedly shared his location, as people losing their lives over a song is unnecessary. Over a song, she keeps returning to that phrase, because it encapsulates the specific absurdity of the way her son died. Not over territory, not over a drug deal gone wrong, not over a direct personal confrontation, over a song that called him out. A song that became a rallying point for people who had decided he needed to die. A song that led to a bounty that led to 4 men in 2 cars on Oak Street. Mama Duck says at the end of the day, losing them only hurts their close families. Says she feels lost and consumed with all of this. Lost and consumed, even in the middle of fighting. Even with verdicts and rulings and lawsuits moving forward, she's still lost and consumed. Because the legal victories don't fill the kitchen table seat that Duck used to sit in. They don't give her grandchildren their father back. They don't undo any of it. She described how the deaths of both her son and King Vaughn did nothing but hurt their families. Vaughn's family too. His mother lost her son. His siblings lost their brother. His daughter, because Vaughn had a daughter, lost her father. The same violence that took Duck from Mama Duck took Vaughn from his own people just 3 months later. Nobody in this story won anything. Everybody lost. And the only institution that came out ahead was the industry that sold the music while the bodies piled up. On November 14, 2020, Bennett was buried at Burr Oak Cemetery in Alsip, Cook County, Illinois. Buried in Cook County, the same county where Mama Duck's civil lawsuit is being litigated, the same county where the federal criminal trial took place, the same county where Carlton Weekly was born and where the industry that eventually swallowed him whole first took shape. Cook County is the arena for all of this, and it's not done. In August 2023, charges were dropped against Leaks under Georgia's Stand Your Ground law. The charges against Vaughn's killer dropped. That resolution or non-resolution sits in the background of every conversation about this case, because the law that let Lil Tim walk free is the same legal system that sentenced 5 of Duck's killers to life. The outcomes are wildly asymmetric, and that asymmetry is part of what drives Mama Duck's civil case, because criminal justice didn't deliver a clean resolution for anybody. In the wake of their killings, Weekly became a prominent voice for peace in Chicago and has organized community initiatives. While the lawyers file motions, while the estate defends itself, while Lil Durk sits in federal custody awaiting trial on a separate murder-for-hire case. Mama Duck is still in the community, still running the initiatives, still showing up, because she understands something that the lawsuits can't fully capture. The violence doesn't end with a verdict. It ends with the community deciding to end it. Days after Duck's death, she held a press conference pleading for an end to retaliatory violence in the city. Days after, before the grief had even settled, before the funeral, before anything, she was at a press conference begging the city not to retaliate, begging the people who loved her son not to make his death the beginning of another cycle. That's a level of grace and composure that most people will never be tested on, and she passed the test. His mom says that after police asked Duck where he'd been shot, he told them everywhere. Everywhere. She knows that word. She's known it since the moment the police showed her the body cam footage. And that word, everywhere, is what she carries into every courtroom and every press conference and every community initiative. Everywhere. That's what was done to her son. And everywhere is where she's going to look for accountability. Vaughn had previously included a scene of himself killing a man named Duck in the video for his track Took Her to the O, released about 6 months before his rival was murdered. The video has since amassed 288 million views on YouTube. 288 million. That number sits there, ticking upward, every single day. Every time someone discovers King Von's music for the first time, every algorithm recommended listen, every playlist addition, every social media clip, that number grows. And somewhere in that growth is the ongoing monetization of the conditions that killed Carlton Weekly. King Von's breakout single Took Her to the O makes mention of killing Duck in the lyrics and has since gone triple platinum. Triple platinum, the song with Duck in the lyrics, the song played in a federal murder trial, identified by an FBI agent as containing references to both Duck and his dead brother. The song, featuring a music video in which the character named Duck is shot, is triple platinum. It will be triple platinum for the rest of time. It'll be on Spotify forever, and Mama Duck knows that. In essence, they monetize the killing of FBG Duck. That sentence from the lawsuit is the one that follows this story into every future headline. Because as long as that song keeps streaming, as long as the video keeps getting views, the monetization continues. And Mama Duck's lawsuit is still alive, and Carlton Weekly's name is still being said. And she's still fighting. FBG Duck's mother says that a court has ruled in her favor regarding her wrongful death lawsuit against Lil Durk for her son's death. Weekly posted about the ruling on Instagram, writing, "The ruling is in, and my son gets his day in court." His day in court. He never got to defend himself in a courtroom. He never got to speak at a trial, or sit at a table with a lawyer, or watch a jury deliberate his fate. He was killed before any of that could happen. So his mother is giving him his day in court, posthumously through a civil lawsuit, with her name on the filing because his can't be. Weekly shared on Instagram that a judge has now ruled in her favor, allowing her son's murder-related lawsuit to move forward in court. Move forward, present tense, right now. This story isn't history, it's ongoing. The footage that's out there, the surveillance clips that Chicago PD released, the music video that's been viewed 288 million times, the trial exhibits that were unsealed, all of it is still circulating, still being watched, still being discussed. and Mama Duck is still at the center of it. I want to thank my attorney Roosevelt Allen and his team for their exceptional work on this case. Roosevelt Allen, a name that will be in the headlines again when this civil case goes to trial, when he stands in a Cook County courtroom and tells a jury that the label that distributed Took Her to the O knew what it was distributing, knew the man who made it had a $100,000 bounty on a real person's head, and distributed it anyway because the streams justified it. That trial hasn't happened yet, but Mama Duck has a judge's ruling saying it can. Weekly initially filed the lawsuit in October 2024, 4 years after her son's death. The suit alleges that Durk and Vaughn placed a $100,000 bounty on Duck. 4 years, and still fighting. That's the thing about Mama Duck that distinguishes her from every other parent in this story. She didn't reach the finish line and stop. The criminal convictions weren't the finish line. They were a checkpoint. The civil lawsuit is the next leg of the race, and she's still running. Our fight continues. I want to thank my attorney Roosevelt Allen and his team for their exceptional work on this case. Let's go. Let's go. That's where it ends and begins at the same time. Every legal filing, every ruling, every hearing, every deposition, all of it is happening in real time, in a case that a mother is driving forward with everything she has left. On August 4, 2020, 26-year-old American rapper Carlton Daquan Weekly, known professionally as FBG Duck, was murdered on the Gold Coast of Chicago, Illinois. Weekly was fatally shot by 4 gunmen in a targeted attack related to gang violence after shopping with his girlfriend outside a retail store in the Gold Coast neighborhood. That's the factual record, the dry clinical description of what happened on Oak Street. A 26-year-old man shopping with his girlfriend, killed by 4 gunmen in a targeted attack. Every legal proceeding since then has been an attempt to answer the question, who is responsible for that? And Mama Duck's answer is, everyone who made it possible. All 5 perpetrators were convicted of all counts at their trial in 2021 and sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Life. All of them. The men who drove the cars and fired the guns and coordinated the attack are in federal prison for the rest of their lives. But the machine that allegedly funded the bounty, distributed the music that foreshadowed the murder, and profited from the notoriety it generated, that machine is still running. FBG Duck's mom, Lashina Weekly, celebrates the guilty verdicts, saying, "We poppin' bottles, and then we filing lawsuits, and then we getting a judge to rule that the lawsuit can continue, and then we posting the update on Instagram, and then we going back to the community, and then we doing it all over again, because this fight doesn't end until every available avenue of accountability has been fully exhausted." On one date, a fire broke out in Weekly's Inglewood apartment, resulting in the death of her 3-year-old daughter. Investigators believe the fire may have been accidentally started by the child playing with a lighter. A daughter before Brick, before Duck, before any of the music or the gangs, or the trials or the lawsuits. She lost a 3-year-old. That's where this story truly starts. If you're looking for the beginning, not in a music video or a diss track or a federal indictment, in an Inglewood apartment with a fire and a little girl who didn't make it. She became a public figure, an advocate following the separate shooting deaths of her 2 sons, rappers Jermaine FBG Brick Robinson and Carlton FBG Duck Weekly. 3 children lost before any of this became a story the world was following. That's the foundation underneath everything Mama Duck does and says. Every lawsuit, every press conference, every Instagram post, every interview, every bottle she popped after the verdict, every legal motion her attorneys filed. In the wake of their killings, Weekly became a prominent voice for peace in Chicago and has organized community initiatives, a voice for peace, built from loss, running on grief, and still going, still in the community, still in the courtroom, still on Instagram, still saying my son gets his day in court. Let's go. On August 4, 2020, FBG Duck was shopping with his girlfriend for a birthday present for his son in the Gold Coast neighborhood of Chicago, a popular upscale shopping district. His son, Duck, had a son, and on the last day of Duck's life, he was trying to get that son a birthday present. That's the life that was cut short, not just the rap career, not just the music. A father buying a birthday present, killed by 4 men who drove across the city because a bounty had been placed on his head. His mother reflected on the last day she spent with her late son, revealing that the last thing he told her was that he was heading back home, to the city's east side. heading back home. That's all he was doing, going home. And then he stopped to buy a gift for his kid, and 4 men showed up, and home was the one place he never got to go. "Yeah, Ma, I'm finna go home," were his last words to her. "Yeah, Ma, I'm finna go home." She's been carrying those words for 6 years now, and she's going to keep carrying them into every courtroom, and every community event, and every Instagram post, and every press conference until she feels like everything that can be done for Carlton Weekly has been done. And she's not there yet. Prosecutors said drill rapper King Vaughn, an O-Block affiliated gang member, put a $100,000 bounty on Weekly's head. After the release of the diss track Dead Bitches, King Vaughn was recorded buying diamond O-Block pendants for the defendants and giving them stacks of cash. Recorded again. The word that defines this entire saga. Everything was recorded. The cash handout, the pendant purchase, the murder, the celebration, the bragging, the music video depicting the murder before it happened, the surveillance footage of the murder itself, all recorded, all presented in court, all used to convict 5 people. Vaughn had previously included a scene of himself killing a man named Duck in the video for his track, Took Her to the O, released about 6 months before his rival was murdered. 6 months before. That's the footage that now circulates alongside the surveillance footage, as a paired document of what happened. The music video, what was intended. The surveillance footage, what was executed. Mama Duck has seen both, and her reaction, her lawsuit, her press conferences, her Instagram posts, is her documented response to all of it. On October 9, 2024, Weekly, as the administrator of her son Carlton's estate, filed a wrongful death lawsuit in Cook County Circuit Court. Administrator of his estate. She's not just his mother, she's his executor, his legal voice, his representative in the courts of the state he was born in. And she filed that lawsuit with the same deliberateness and the same refusal to quit that has defined every step of her public life since she lost her first child in a fire in Inglewood. On October 9, 2024, it was reported that Bennett's estate, along with both Durk and OTF Records, were named in a wrongful death lawsuit by the estate and family of Weekly. The estate, the label, the distributor, the city, the store, the security firms, all of them named, all of them summoned to answer. Some already trying to get dismissed. The judge saying, "Not yet, the fight moving forward." In an update on Instagram, she confirmed that a judge recently ruled that she can bring her case to court. "The ruling is in, and my son gets his day in court." She wrote, "The court ruled we can continue our lawsuit against Lil Durk and the record labels. His day in court. His, not hers." She's very deliberate about that language. She's not doing this for herself. She's doing this for Carlton. For the 26-year-old who was buying his kid a birthday present and never made it home. As a result of the murder, Lil Durk, O-Block, and OTF became international brands. In essence, they monetized the killing of FBG Duck. In essence, that's the qualifier that makes the sentence legally careful and morally devastating at the same time. In essence, meaning this is what it amounts to, even if they never stated it as their intention. The killing of her son, in essence, became content, became promotion, became streams, became money. And that money is still flowing. And Mama Duck is going to chase it all the way to trial. Weekly initially filed the lawsuit in October 2024, 4 years after her son's death. 4 years between the murder and the civil filing. In that time, 2 sons acknowledged as lost. A daughter who learned she was pregnant on the day her brother was killed. A community that buried another one. A criminal case that took years to reach trial. A verdict that sent 5 men to prison for life. And then, a civil lawsuit, named after everyone she hasn't gotten to face in a courtroom yet. Attorneys for FBG Duck's estate on Lil Durk's murder-for-hire arrest said, "One step closer to justice. One step at a time." That's how she's built this, step by step, year by year, court filing by court filing. And every time it looks like the step is the last one, she finds another step, another motion, another defendant, another day in court. In the wake of their killings, Weekly became a prominent voice for peace in Chicago and has organized community initiatives. Peace. She's still reaching for that word, even in the middle of all of this. The lawsuits, the rulings, the ongoing grief. She's still out there organizing, still sending kids to Six Flags, still showing up for community events, still being the warrior mom that her grief made her. and still fighting, and still saying our fight continues. FBG Duck's mother says that a court has ruled in her favor regarding her wrongful death lawsuit against Lil Durk for her son's death. In her favor, for the first time in a long time. For the first time since the criminal verdict, something has happened in her favor in a courtroom. Not the final ruling, not the verdict, just the confirmation that the case can proceed, that the door stays open, that Carlton Weekly gets his day. The situation comes as Lil Durk remains behind bars while awaiting trial in his murder-for-hire case. While Durk sits in federal custody, while his lawyers fight a federal murder-for-hire case on one front and a civil wrongful death suit on another, while Vaughn's estate figures out how to respond to discovery requests, while the label executives decide whether to fight or settle, while all of that legal machinery turns, Mama Duck is still on Instagram, still updating, still saying, the fight continues. The video has since amassed 288 million views on YouTube. 288 million and counting. Every day, every algorithm recommendation, every new King Vaughn fan who comes across took her to the O for the first time. Every play contributes to a royalty stream that flows to an estate that is currently a defendant in a wrongful death lawsuit filed by the mother of the man the song named. That's the world Mama Duck is living in. That's the context for her reaction to the footage, and that context is still evolving in real time. In 2024, she filed a high-profile wrongful death lawsuit against rapper Lil Durk, his record label, and the estate of King Vaughn, alleging their involvement in her son FBG Duck's murder. Alleging their involvement. That allegation will now be tested in civil court, with discovery, with depositions, with expert witnesses, with financial records, with every document the lawsuit's attorneys can subpoena, and the defendants will argue their side, and the judge and jury will decide. And whatever they decide will become another chapter in a story that started in an apartment in Inglewood and is still being written. The court's rulings confirm what we have said from the beginning, said Roosevelt Allen. From the beginning, this case was not hastily assembled in the aftermath of a viral moment. It was built over years on the foundation of a completed federal criminal prosecution, with evidence developed through FBI investigations, federal grand juries, and a 3-month trial. Mama Duck's civil lawsuit is the most evidence-rich wrongful death action to emerge from a rap-related murder in American legal history. All 6 defendants were found guilty of murder on January 17, 2025. And then came the civil lawsuit moving forward. And then came the ruling in her favor. And then came the footage circulating again. King Vaughn's video, the surveillance clips, all of it back online. All of it being watched and discussed, and Mama Duck watching all of it, reacting to all of it, fighting through all of it, still here, still standing, still saying his day in court. Let's go. On August 4, 2020, 26-year-old American rapper Carlton Weekly, known professionally as FBG Duck, was murdered on the Gold Coast of Chicago, Illinois, United States. That's the sentence that started all of this. And it's the sentence that Mama Duck has been arguing ever since shouldn't be the only sentence written about her son. There should be more. There should be accountability. There should be justice, not just for the men who pulled the triggers, but for the system that allegedly put the guns in their hands and the bounty over her son's head. FBG Duck's mom, Lashina Weekly, celebrates the guilty verdicts. She celebrated, and then she filed a lawsuit, and then a judge said the lawsuit can proceed, and then she posted it on Instagram, and then the footage went viral again, and then she kept going. That's the whole story. That's who Lashina Weekly is, the mother who never stopped. Duck's mother, Lashina Weekly, posted about the ruling on Instagram, writing, "The ruling is in, and my son gets his day in court. The court ruled we can continue our lawsuit against Lil Durk and the record labels. Our fight continues. Our fight continues. Not my fight. Our fight. Hers and Carlton's together." The mother who watched the footage processed all of it, the music video, the surveillance clips, the trial exhibits, and decided that none of it, not a single frame, was going to stop